Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law Splaining the Interwebs. I'm your host who's really late, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. Apologies, guys. This one, genuinely sorry about, was not anticipating being late at all, actually, but life circumstances are weird some way, and so I am late. Again, genuine apologies, not like the fake apology I normally give. Genuine apologies tonight, but I had something important that needed to be done, and it's done. And you know, in 7 to 10 years, they may find the body. Frankly, let me add this pin chat. Oh my goodness. So guys, here's the deal. The other times he isn't genuinely sorry for. Yeah, exactly. Here's the deal. We had a guest scheduled for tonight, Ron Coleman. Actually, Ron was scheduled for Wednesday, but I realized I had double booked. And so I asked him to reschedule. He said Tuesday. I was like, cool. Sent him the link and he's like, wait, today? I think maybe he thought Tuesday of next week would be the day, but he's not feeling well. So then I didn't have my guest or the show topics that we were going to talk about, which is, you know, like, that's just how it goes. It's not a big deal. We're going to reschedule Ron when he's feeling better and talk about those Trump First Amendment issues. Ron is an expert on that. I espouse a lot on First Amendment topics, obviously, because I care deeply about it. But Ron is a guy who practices First Amendment constitutional law at the highest levels. So we gotta, I guess, acknowledge what he has to say or whatever. So that being said, he's not on today. I changed the description and all of that stuff right after making the show. If you were here right away, you might have caught the early version and not refreshed. But Ron will not be joining us today. It's just going to be me, or maybe I'll invite Tom Connors, Midnight's Edge After Dark. I don't know what we're going to do. I have no plan for tonight. None. Except I was asked recently to do more whiskey reviews because I've been very slack on doing them. And so I received this bottle as a gift in Nashville. And it's this Old Forester King's Ranch bourbon. I have never had this. I've had Old Forester Prohibition. I've had a different Old Forester. Never had this King's Ranch one. So we're going to do a whiskey review of this. If you don't know how the whiskey reviews go, here's how. Oh, Mindset said he was available for a show today. That's true. I'll message him. I'll message him last minute. I had forgotten completely. Hey, if you're still available, my guest canceled. No pressure. But if you want, I can send you the link, Mazza. So there we go. If he said he was available, but I said he wasn't. I said today wasn't going to be a good time, so he may have made other plans. If he's available, we'll bring him on. That'll be great. If not, maybe I'll bring Tom on because I like Tom. We can talk about whatever. But if you have not ever watched one of my whiskey reviews, it's been a long time since I've done one. We do a minimum of 3 shots of liquor, effectively, spaced out throughout the show. And the first one is a proper tasting of the whiskey. There's a tasting process. And I saw it from a guy online, modified it slightly, but it's not my original idea. But what it is great for is if you are not someone who's accustomed to drinking whiskey and you want to know how to drink whiskey without it burning you because you're a baby or whatever, this is a great way to do that because it acclimates your senses that are about to be activated by whiskey and kind of numbs them to the sting of what's coming. It's like GHB in that respect. So that's the first way we do it. Proper tasting. It's a 4-step process. I'll walk us through all of it. If you have whiskey or liquor at home that you want to try drinking neat, not as a mixed drink, because we don't believe in mixing here, damn it. But if you want to drink along, follow this process, especially if you're not used to like a harder liquor, or if there's a different type of liquor that you want to try. This doesn't just work for whiskey. It works for brandies, vodkas, gins, everything, because it gets your olfactory senses and taste buds ready for it. Hey, Attorney Tom, I wasn't even talking about you, but do you want to come on? Because I'll send you links to join the show, like an ex-girlfriend would send her not even boyfriend, just to get you on. But so that's how we'll do that. The second taste that we do a little bit later, because you got to let your mouth kind of recover from that first shot, is just a shot straight down the pipe. Whiskey goes down, and I review how it kind of impacts the palate and stuff like that. And then the final one is just a casual sipping 2 drinks in. See if it changes, because the first time you have whiskey, or the first time you drink a whiskey is different from the later times you drink a whiskey, even that same day or evening, because your taste buds change, your perception changes a little bit with all of the alcohol and the inebriation, the good feelings. So it's kind of like beer goggles, but for drinking. Like when the fat girl comes up to you the first time, you're like, I don't know, maybe it tastes. Then later you're like, I guess if I just power through. And then the third time you're like, you know what? She's not so bad once you get past all of the extra tissue. Like that's how it goes. It's the same with drinking. So we're going to do that starting in just a minute. And then, you know what? I'm going to invite the chat to, we can do, I don't want to call it like an Ask Me Anything, but we can talk through topics, and we can do it on like however basis. Easiest way is through super chats. And I will do the thing, since I have no plan tonight. I won't do like the $20 super chat thing. We'll just catch them as they come in, and I can just address topics as we go. Like I said, maybe in a little while, we'll invite Tom Connors. We'll talk some culture. But I realized one thing about my show prep, which is nothing, obviously, is that I did actually wash a whiskey glass specifically for this show. And then I left it upstairs. So I do have to go grab that, but then we'll get right into it. Should I play something for you guys? Like, is there something I can play in the background while I'm gone? Like a Hassan Piker thing? I don't know. Maybe. Oh yeah, I got one. Dustin says, I can't super chat in this economy. Like, and I'm not trying to say it's limited to super chats. I'll see what I see in the, the regular chats as well. It's just super chats and Rumble rants. Obviously they pop up to me, so they're easier to track, but I will also be monitoring the chats for topics that are interesting and stuff like that. So we'll do that. For now, I'm going to play this throwback classic coming to you on the evening show, a throwback classic from Alex Jones. It's called While Nick Goes and Gets His Whiskey Glass. Thanks for watching Rescheduling Law on the 11s.
System, the company store, the paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderers scum. They're on giant death factories keeping babies alive and selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin, and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we wanna eat babies. I have them on video. Hillary's in the creepy, weird, sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy, weird woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. What the hell? That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur. Hit a roof, vampire pot, then a cop spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go. We're such self-centered crap, we don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. Millions of pointed people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mall. We're gonna stab your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say, we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good, oh, they're so sweet.
I was watching Fox News as I worked out this morning.
I love that song. I love that song so much. It's perfect. It's wonderful. All right. Mindset is not able to come on tonight. He's quote unquote using that charisma to work with some clients. Cool. Okay. I see how it is. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Let's see where we go. Let's just get this thing started. I do have a topic or two that I haven't gotten to recently. Let me see. People are saying bring Aussie on. Is he alive? Are you alive? Maybe I'll bring Aussie on. I don't know. We're going to start with the whiskey review, but I have some topics. I see some topics in the chat and we can definitely engage some of this stuff. We're definitely going to do that. Let's see. Let me send Aussie the invite. If he wants to come on, that'll be up to him. But we're going to start with liquor. And Aussie, are you going to drink if you come on? Or are you upside down timeland? I don't know if that's true that he'll want to, but we'll see. Get Dick Masterson on. I mean, I could invite him. We are going to talk about some drama today. Guys, drama. It always starts right here. This is where it starts. This is the only place that it starts. And it's like, how does this always happen? I don't know, but it's funny. It's funny. Oh, Jeff, you want to come on? I'll get Jeff on here. Jeff, come do a whiskey review with me. I'm inviting all the south of the planets over here. The other side of the disc. Struggle Pig Rye. No, this is Old Forester King Ranch is the one I'm going to start with. I'm going to do a proper whiskey review of it the way I used to. All right, we'll set him down there. I got to get, my mouth is really dry, so I'm drinking some sweet tea from Cane's to get prepped for that, and then we'll get into that liquor in just a minute. Savage Herbal says, look at the early years stuff, dude. You planted drama seeds way back when. Oh, I know. Like, and there's certainly been drama I've chosen to engage in because I find it really interesting. It's just funny, the incidental drama. I'm talking, of course, about the new meta, which is Megan Fox, Legal Mindset, and Kurt, which spawned as the bastard child from the Friday stream, which has just been a catastrophe. Just been an absolute catastrophe. It's great. Like, I know it's wildly entertaining to some people, but it does suck because there's people behind all of this. Include prices of the bottle. I have no idea what the price of this bottle is. It was a gift that I got in Nashville. But Old Forester Prohibition is really good. That runs like $90. So I guess I could look it up. Oh, okay. Jeff's not coming on. He said, no, I don't like any of your audience and they are evil. That's definitely what Jeff said. It's not that he's stuck in his office working and can't join us to drink whiskey. Let's see. Old Forester King Ranch. So this is, oh, Jesus. It's listed at $300 somewhere, but it looks like it runs about $165. It looks like it's about $150 to $160 bottle. But I see listings from $165 all the way up to $300 or $400. The $400 seems really, really as an outlier price. $165 to $200 to $300 seems to be the normal, the normal amount. But yeah, so not a cheap whiskey by any means, of course. Not the most expensive either. So we'll have to, but we'll test it here. So here's the 4-step process for trying whiskey out or any hard liquor, especially if you're not used to it. If you're one of those people who sends me messages and you're like, well, I really want to try and like whiskey, but every time I drink it, it just burns and I don't like that. And it makes my mouth and throat and nose hurt and my vagina itch or whatever. Like if you're one of those people, you should follow this process. I'm going to help you. And I'm going to tell you why these steps matter. Okay. So the first step, no matter what your glass situation is, you can use like a little, the little Karen glasses or whatever, or Glencairn glasses. But even if you have just a rocks glass, you're going to get your fucking nose all the way in the glass and you're going to breathe in that aroma of whiskey and alcohol and acrid stuff. Okay. That's your first step. And you're going to smell the different smells in there. You may have to double dip on this one. Or sometimes if you've got like too much of the alcohol vapor in the glass, you may want to kind of blow it out, replace it with some CO2 or whatever. And that will help kind of clear the alcohol vapor and let you get the smell in again. So this one is it's a little bit of a substantial alcohol. So you're going to get, this is over 50% alcohol by volume. So you're going to get a little bit of that tinge or not tinge, that acidic gasoline-y smell, but it's not too bad. You can smell the char of the oak in this. Smells a little woody, a little bit char, but I'm not really great at diagnosing flavor profiles. So you're not going to be like me going like, ooh, I smell some fig. Yeah, that's because you're a fig. I get it. That's not going to happen here, but you can smell the wood. You can smell the alcohol, obviously, and a little bit of that char that comes as just a bourbon. So here we go. Breck says $86 on Total Wine, which is usually high on price. Well, there you go. Cool. So yeah. So then the next thing you do, I'm going to explain the next couple steps, all 3 steps at once, actually, because once I start, I'm going to have liquor in my mouth. It's not going to work. The next step you do is you take a good sip and let it sit on your tongue. Let it kind of roll around. Maybe let it go down the sides of your tongue, down to underneath to the bottom of your mouth. Just kind of let it go all over in your mouth and let your taste buds explore the liquor. And that's also going to, remember, this is also to take away the harshness. The smell really preps your olfactory system and your sinuses for what's coming. That next step is prepping your taste buds for what's next, and it's going to take away the sting. But some whiskeys have some cool interactivity. They'll make you tingle or they'll make you numb. Just take notes of that. Take notes of the taste if you care. Like I'm not great at picking out different flavors. We'll see how it goes, but just enjoy that for a minute. Let it sit there. When you're ready, swallow it with purpose like a whore. Let it all go down at once. Don't do a wussy swallow. Don't swallow part of it. You're going to start choking. It's going to be bad. Swallow it all down. And then you're going to notice different flavors come through after you swallow. And then finally take a nice breath out of your mouth as the 4th stage and let that sort of backwash vapor come up from your lungs. And there's a different flavor. And some asshole spent years working on each one of those steps, on each one of those experiences for you. Years of someone's work goes into a bottle of whiskey. And it's for those 4 distinct experiences, and how each one works is particular and specialized to the bottle. Whether it's a $20 bottle of whiskey, maybe they're kind of sloppy on some of those things and you might not care, or whether it's a $10,000 bottle of whiskey, all of those things were meant to happen. Once whiskey goes into a bottle, the aging and flavoring stops unless you expose it to air or light. So it does not get better. If you have an 18-year scotch from 500 years ago, it's an 18-year scotch. Now it's going to be bad if it sat in the sun, But if it's sat in a dark place at room temperature, it'll be just fine. It'll taste like an 18-year scotch. So, once whiskey goes in the bottle, it's done. A guy picked that flavor to deliver to you. So here we go. Here's we'll do all 4 steps now. Okay, it's a very good whiskey. I love the flavors. It's smooth. It does have a burn to it. It is over 50% alcohol. You're going to have a burn. And until you're like a burned out whiskey hound like me, it may really mask the flavors. If that is your experience, if all you're tasting is alcohol, you can add a small amount of distilled water to it or an ice cube. I don't recommend the ice cube so much. Distilled water, though, and that can open up the flavor profile and dilute down the alcohol a little bit to help you get to that. When you drink 50% and higher whiskeys all the time, it's not that big of a deal. The wood really comes through. Caramelly sort of flavor comes through. It's not super sweet. It is savory. It's not very smoky or peaty like a Lagavulin or Lafroig Scotch or anything like that. It's very much a bourbon. So it's oak, it's char, it's not smoke. It's the charcoaly taste. And again, a little bit of sweetness and caramelly stuff going on, probably from the mashes fermenting at high temperature. But it's a very smooth whiskey. I mean, this does not burn going down at all. It does not have chlamydia. So that's nice. Very good. Man, I like that. So we'll finish up that this shot in a little bit, and then we will go ahead and move to the second shot, which will be just a shot of it and a little while after that. But you got to get some time for the liquor to process through and all that stuff. In the meanwhile, we're going to start hitting chats, and we'll just see where the night takes us, ladies and gentlemen. So here we go. Grifty says, great topic. Judge Joe Brown on PBD podcast. What is the PBD podcast? What is that? Judge Joe Brown is funny, but the problem with the Judge Joe Brown show is that those were reenactments. They were scripted. That was not because I actually did a review a long time ago. I had a friend who would watch my show, and he would request I do like reviews of Judge Judy and Joe Brown and stuff like that. And we've done one of the Joe Brown shows. It was great. He called this chick a reprobate, ratchet, which is really funny. But then you find out, it was all staged, like maybe based on cases, and then they had actors and actresses come in. It wasn't real. So like, well, that's not any fun. So I didn't like that. Patrick Bet David. Who the fuck is Patrick Bet David? CW says, question, have you ever had STDs? No, not at all. Lady Raggeds and I are it. Like it's just us. It's always been just us. So, no, thankfully that's been a very fortunate side effect of monogamous marriage where each of you were like, your person's first, right? Is that you don't really have to worry too much about STDs, because something weird would have to happen. Like obviously, infidelity would do that. Or like, some sort of blood transfusion error or something like that. We haven't had that issue, thank Christ. But no STDs. Do you want some? Yeah, Cladix, I'll take some. Send me some in a vial. Don't address it to Congress, though. Secret, says, you hear about the completionist nonprofit that's supposed to be funding Alzheimer's research, hasn't given any money to any charities, 600,000 plus raised. No, I have not. I have not heard of that. I don't even know who the completionist is. Who the fuck is the completionist? How does he not know what PBD is? Dude, I don't have much time to consume podcasts these days, or much of anything. All my time is spent kids, wife, prepping for the show, usually through sourcing articles, finding legal legal, political, cultural issues that I'm interested in, and then booking guests and stuff like that. And then, what little leisure time I have is not spent on podcasts. It's not that I don't like them. I used to listen to them all the time. I used to do it when I would drive because I had a lot of long distance driving for law school and stuff, but then I don't have a ton of that anymore. And usually if I'm driving somewhere long distance, I'm joined by either Lady Raggeds or the kids. So it kind of tamps down on podcasts and stuff I can listen to and some music. But Completionist, a video game YouTuber. He's huge. Name is Gerard Khalil. Well, there you go. Book PBD. Okay. I don't know the guy. Like, I can't just book him. Sounds like someone I should talk to. Maybe. I don't know. Sometimes you guys have weird suggestions, though. You're like, book this guy. You look him up. It's like, what does he do? Oh, he murders babies. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have any problem talking to whoever. It's just, I don't know anything about him. Law says, bring me on as a guest to talk about the finer points of zooming in on Wisconsin. I have a mock sentencing hearing as a prosecutor tomorrow. Any advice? Oh, you're a prosecutor? Just leverage the entire power of the state, all specifically your state, against your enemy. And you should definitely view the defendant as your enemy because you're the prosecutor and that person is standing in the way of your promotion. Dude, no, a mock sentencing hearing. Look, sentencing hearing is you want to focus on the rehabilitative necessity of things like incarceration for your client. Like you want to show, not your client, the defendant. You want to show that the defendant needs to have the state's sentence imposed, usually within a guideline. I don't know how you guys do sentencing there, but show why that sentencing and the rehabilitative efforts that have been laid out by your gay parliament matter and that they should be applied in the case. Your job as an agent of the state is to utilize the arguments put forth by the state to support the positions that the state has on these issues. Sentencing guidelines, I assume Canada has similar concepts as we do here. Sentencing guidelines are created by the representative government that governs the people who it represents. So if they are elected, right, to represent the people, then the sentencing guidelines are presumptively democratic by nature. They service the community outside of specific things that would lead to a departure from the sentencing guidelines. You should be arguing for the state's recommended guidelines. Now, if there's something that would require an upward departure in your fact set, again, this is a mock prosecution, so who knows, but in your fact set, there's something that would warrant an upward deviation, then you need to argue why, because the state has also created the ability to upwardly deviate, and they've given you guidelines on how to do it, and the court has gone ahead and taken those and clarified them. So just, you're the state, man. Just rely on the state. The judge is the state too. The judge is supposed to impart the state's will when the facts match up. So just match the facts to what you need for the state to achieve its goal of the sentencing guideline or deviation, whatever you're looking for. I don't know what your goals are. I don't know what the facts are, but you are the state. Rely on being the state. That's your biggest argument. This is the system that we have all chosen in a free society to live under. It's Canada, so it's not free, but you get to pretend it is because you're the state. Just lie. Samuel Williams, the founding father, says, are you gay? Let's see. No, I'm not. It's a damn shame, honestly. But I'm not. I don't have any problem with gay people. I don't care what people do. But I just cannot look at a dude and go, oh, yeah. Like, I can joke about it, but it just has never got me going. Women, of course, love them. Lady Rackets, man. Yeah, I like her a lot, quite a bit. I just cannot. If she was a dude, I don't know if I'd like her as much. Maybe that's how I'd be gay. Maybe if Lady Raggeds gets a transition or something. We'll have to try it. We'll try that. Maybe that'll be a stretch goal for a stream sometime. Get to a certain level of super chats. Lady Raggeds is forcefully transitioned against her will. And then, then I get to determine if I'm actually gay or not. I think that sounds good. What about penises? I just don't like them that much. Like mine is fine. Like it and I get along, but other people's I just don't like. I don't want to touch them. I don't want to see them. I don't want to, I don't want to even remember they're there most of the time. So not my thing. Not my thing. But if you guys are gay, any of you gays out there, look, hats off to you. You do something that I just cannot do. So congrats and my condolences. Really now says you got to cover the 2 fights in Congress. We might do that in a little bit. There were some fights in Congress. Did I see that like Bernie Sanders broke up a fight in Congress, or some other old ass motherfucker like broke up a fight? I'm like, how are these guys breaking up fights? How's this happening? This is so weird. Brack says, so you're saying you just need to meet the right guy? Well, I said maybe. I don't know. I haven't met every person. I mean, maybe there's maybe there's a guy out there for me. Right? Like there's every fish in the sea or something. Matthew Self says, invite Legal Vices on for the whiskey review. He's awake. He's an Orthodox Korean hiding from K-pop poop bombs. Dude, he goes to like every BTS show, right? That's what he does. He's like at every BTS show. He's the biggest BTS super fan. Camelot, what are you doing? Are you in here? Yours is different, I believe, was Nick's words. Yeah, well, look. Camelot, they said man. And that's a pretty obvious caveat. What's a BTS? It's a Korean boy band or whatever. Yeah, I invited Vices and he turned us down. He turned us down. Mostly you. He said if it was just you and not your audience, I would be there. But since it's your audience, no. T-Rex Trucking More says, as a CDL driver, I've wondered since my truck is also my domicile, do the cops have a bigger hurdle to surpass to search my truck than the reasonable suspicion hurdle to search a normal car? First of all, reasonable suspicion is not a sufficient basis for a search of an automobile. People get this wrong. Probable cause is the required basis for a non-consensual search. Probable cause plus satisfaction of the warrant requirement. The warrant requirement is a presumed requirement, but there are noted exceptions to the warrant requirement. One of them is the moving vehicle exception. Now, because your truck is your domicile, you have this duality. The moving vehicle exception to the warrant requirement would normally allow your truck to be searched with merely probable cause. The understanding around this exception to the warrant requirement is that something that can move and get rid of, destroy, tamper with evidence while moving that then wouldn't be able to be as readily observed. So you may not have the ability to preserve the evidence while you wait for a warrant, is the thinking. So that's why cars are searchable without a warrant. But reasonable suspicion is not sufficient for a search. Reasonable suspicion is sufficient basis. Let me clarify the rule. It's called a Terry stop, and most traffic stops kind of follow the Terry stop mentality. Reasonable suspicion that criminal activity is afoot, and the follow-up to the Terry stop is that you have reasonably articulable suspicion that criminal activity is afoot. And the Terry stop is an investigatory stop for the purposes solely of developing probable cause. There is a limited search capacity on a Terry stop that happens on the street because a police officer can do a over-the-clothes pat-down for a search of obviously specifically identifiable weapons that may be on the person for the purpose of protecting the officer's safety during the stop. So if they do a pat down and can clearly identify a knife in a pocket, they can temporarily seize the knife for the purposes of the Fourth Amendment to make sure that they are safe for the encounter. They can seize a gun as long as it feels like from the outside, a gun. It cannot be, this feels like a lump in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? They cannot decide that that's a gun. It has to be identifiable as a gun from the outward inspection. This is a Terry stop. And again, the search is limited to protecting the officer's safety during the pendency of the stop. And the stop is limited to the sole purpose of developing probable cause when there's reasonable suspicion. But you do not get to use the search to raise that probable cause. The investigatory detention is like you walk up, you ask some questions. Hey, who are you? What are you up to? Why are you here? They answer. They maybe provide ID, whatever. You do a quick pat down to make sure they're safe. If they're acting funky or whatever, maybe you get closer, you smell alcohol, you smell marijuana, other things like that can develop. During the time of the stop, something happens that they seem to be involved in. Any of those things can, like, it's not easy to predict what will raise reasonable suspicion to probable cause, but there are things that can do it. It's not limited, but that's the purpose of a Terry stop. A traffic stop is similar to a Terry stop, but you generally have probable cause for a traffic stop as well. Doesn't mean you automatically get to do a search, though. The trick with a search of a vehicle or anything is that you must have a more probable than not thought that you will find evidence of a crime in the searched area. So if a cop pulls you over for a failure to activate your turn signal during a left turn, he does not then have basis, even though he has probable cause to stop you because he watched you turn left without activating your signal. He can now affect the stop. He could issue a ticket. He cannot search your car because he does not have probable cause to believe that evidence of turning left on a red light will be found in the vehicle, right? That makes sense. Now, if the cop watched you go to a known drug neighborhood with a known drug dealer that the cop either has as an informant or is known to him due to other interactions, he sees you do that handshake. It kind of looks like maybe a $20 bill passed by. You walk over to Pookie. Pookie hands you a little baggie or something. You do the look around. Then you get in your car and drive. He has now maybe developed sufficient probable cause for the stop. Or he'll watch for some erratic driving thing and use that as a pretext for the stop. But he has probable cause now to believe, possibly, he may not, but he can try. He may have probable cause to believe that you have an illicit or illegal substance in the car, and that will be the basis for the search. But he has to independently develop that probable cause. He can't say, well, you were speeding, therefore I can search your vehicle. But once you develop that probable cause for the specific evidence that you are looking for, and it has to be articulable, because if you had to get a warrant, you would have to under oath or affidavit, you would have to offer a probable cause statement that a judge would sign off on to issue the warrant. You have to have all of that. You just don't have to go through doing it. So if you can articulate the crime that you believe is occurring, that you have probable cause to believe is occurring, and the probable cause or reasonable basis that you will find evidence of that crime and affecting the search, then you have the exception to the warrant requirement, which is a really long way of saying cops will always search your car. They'll always search your car. Disregard everything I said. They will always search your car, whether you consent or not. If they want to search your car, they're going to fucking do it. Now, they may not search it if they didn't think they could. They may throw it out like, can I just look at your car? And you're like, no. And they're like, oh, damn, got me. They may do that because they may just throw it out there. Let me look in your car. Because they can ask. They can always ask. Like, you can go up to anybody you want and ask if you can look in their car. And if they say yes, you can. If they say no, you can't. Very simple. Cops are the same way. People kind of forget that cops are people because they're agents of the state who should maybe be culled. But that's a real thing. If you don't consent, though, they can't do it. But if they want to, they will do it. And they will retroactively create cause. They'll lie. Let's make no mistake. Now, I know there's a couple cops who watch a show, and I know you guys never would do this, but you know that you have colleagues who will retroactively lie to justify the search where they found something, even if they didn't have cause, because of course they will. You caught the bad guy. We understand. This is the struggle. This is why The Wire is such a great show. The Wire is watching Officer McNulty, a great dude with a good intention, working in a system that is designed to fuck him, trying to stop crime in the constraints of the Constitution. And it's tough because you know who the bad guys are. You know what they're doing. And yet you just can't do what needs to be done. So yeah, we get it, but you do have a constitution, you are bound to it. And they'll just lie and make up shit going backwards. And again, you may be the cop that doesn't do it, but you know your colleagues do. Every cop knows that this happens with ridiculously high percentages. Plebeian Chaos has never actually seen it, but we did have a guy fired for something like that. Yeah, it sucks, man. They do it. The reason you don't see it though, is because you've got the bad guy. That's the only time this comes up, by the way. They're not going to make up the justification for a search that doesn't end up in an arrest. Because if your car gets searched and you don't get arrested, you pretty much go, fuck you, fucking fascist pig or whatever. And then you just leave. Because all you wanted to do was go home in the first place. Now, unless they like rape you with a nightstick, they detain you for 10 hours, they somehow fuck over your job, they cause like a divorce because your wife thinks you're out with a whore or whatever they do. Like normally though, most people go, yeah, they searched my car, they didn't find anything because I didn't do a crime. And then I moved on. It was just weird. I didn't get it. No one tracks that. Like no one complains. They just want to go home. You don't want to complain to the cops about the cops, right? Name says raping with a nightstick, lol. And Taryn Gas says that nightstick though. We covered stories a couple years ago of it was a particular set of cops raping people with nightsticks constantly. Like it was bad. They got convicted for it. It was really bad. But you don't want to tell the cops that other cops are fucking with you. You just want to be left alone, right? You start telling cops, oh, these guys keep fucking with me. That's when everybody starts fucking with you. That's when you go on the wrong list, right? That's how most normal people kind of look at that. Is like, if I tell the cops that the cops are fucking with me, they're going to go, well, maybe you deserve to be fucked with. I know Jim, he wouldn't do that. So this problem goes largely unrecognized for a lot of people, but when it hits, it's ugly. But the reason it works though is because they have a pile of drugs. They always have the pile of drugs. My client, who this kind of happened to, where they had to go back and like justify the search of this garbage that was in a burn pit. The big problem was there was a bunch of marijuana in the garbage. Like that was the problem. The problem was not that they did an illegal search and didn't find anything. The problem was they did an illegal search and found a bunch of marijuana. And they're like, well, shit. And you're like, you can't do that, homie. And they're like, watch me try to find a way. What do you think? Like that's, if you want to see every encroachment of rights from the constitutional criminal procedure side, where we have had the state gaining power and the individual losing power, the answer is always because the person that they got was an asshole and a criminal. They always were. Of course they were. That's why they're getting arrested. It's not that the cops aren't stupid, okay? Like we pretend cops are dumb because they're like, oh, well, they needed to search the garbage to find the weed. They didn't need to search the goddamn garbage to find the weed. They come out there, they're like, this is a rural ass place. They look at your client, the defendant, and they're like, this motherfucker looks high as shit or whatever they think. And they go, there's got to be weed somewhere. Of course, that's the thought. And the reason is because the last 9 houses they've looked in the similar area with similar circumstances, there's always weed. They just know. They're not dumb. They're good at their jobs. This is why you don't talk to cops. It's not because cops are bad. It's not because cops are bad. It's not like they are, but it's not because of that you don't talk to cops. It's because you can always trust a cop to do his job well when you know what his job is. His job is to find evidence that someone commits some crime. Doesn't mean that someone actually commit the crime. Doesn't mean that the person they find the evidence against commit the crime. Doesn't mean they even know what the crime is. Their job is to collect and report evidence that someone commits some crime. So that's what they're on the lookout for. And they're great at it. And they get kind of used to finding it in certain places. So they go, I know this is going to happen. I know if I kick open this bag, that should be on fire, but it's not by some miracle. Everything else around me is on fire. This bag isn't. That's God telling me there's weed in it. I'm going to kick open the bag. Kick open the bag, bunch of weed falls out there. Like, nailed it. Oh, shit. Now I have to justify that thing. Well, it's not really a search. I mean, just kicking a bag isn't a search. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Kicking a bag and having it open and spill out is definitely a search. They're like, but we gotta have justification for it. Smelled weed, and it was burning, so we had to stop it. Therefore, we have exigent circumstances. Now we have an exception to the warrant requirement. Boom, done. Again, it's not that cops are bad. It's that cops catch bad guys for a job, and they're pretty damn good at it because they do it a lot. Anything you do for a while, you're going to get pretty skilled at. So, know that when I'm shit talking cops, it's not because I think they're bad at their jobs, because you should respect that they're actually very good at it. That's why you don't talk to them. That's why you don't give them information, because they will find evidence of a crime that you committed that you didn't actually commit, but you have evidence leading to that crime. Then you're fucked. Dirk Diggler says he heard Nick's Israel-Palestine jokes, didn't he? Oh, are you talking about Ron? I don't think Ron would care about those. I don't know if he's heard them or not, but I don't think he'd care about that. Ron's a First Amendment guy. No, he's just not feeling well today. Wait, we got to do this as a shot in a minute. Hold on. Locals being stupid. There we go. Fix that. Okay, next. Oh, wait. To answer this question, that was a long tangent from this question. It's a great question. I do think that there is a moment or several moments where your truck does not qualify as a valid exception to the warrant requirement. And that is when it is at rest and being used as a domicile. If you pull over at a rest stop, plug into the outlet or whatever, and you stay there for the night, I think it's a domicile at that point. It is not at that point a moving vehicle exception to the warrant requirement. And I think you would find strong support for that. I can't cite the cases, but I think that argument that at that point it is a domicile, it is stationary, you're not going to leave. There's no reason they cannot contact the local magistrate and get a warrant. You can get a warrant remotely as a cop now within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, usually. A lot of jurisdictions have a local magistrate who's available at all hours of the night. They call them up. They issue their sworn affidavit under oath over the phone. The magistrate issues the warrant. It is emailed or texted directly to the cop, and they now have the warrant. It's all good. Great. Cool. They can get it immediately. I think when your truck is literally your domicile, when it is at rest, when it is not a moving vehicle, but when it is for you to sleep in and occupy as a living space, typically at night, typically at a designated rest area or a truck stop that services, truckers in that way. I think, yeah, you got a great argument that is a domicile. Now, they're going to try the other one, though. He's dead. Jim says, Nick, poke at the Nearman. Poke at the Nearman? Joe? I love Joe. Aussie said 2 minutes. It's an Australian time, so it's probably like 15 minutes. Contrarian says, all right, Nick. Fine, Nick. I'll jump on. Send me a link. Minor Zircon says, why are you gay? Look, I just am. But I'm not. But I am. Oh, shit. Plebeian says, getting a blood warrant takes me maybe an hour, which getting other warrants was as easy a process. I'd write more. Well, maybe you're in a shitty jurisdiction. Some of them, you can get warrants for damn near anything really quickly. But I think it might depend on how big of a metro you've got. If you have a warrant desk that is specifically for it. I don't know where you are. I don't want to know. Don't tell me. Beaufort Wilson says, a few months after a date with a prosecutor, I got arrested. The judge she's sleeping with signed the arrest warrant. My lawyer thinks this is the best case for motion to dismiss for lying cunt. Nail it. Get him. Also says, in completely unrelated news, I happen to be an expert in ADA design and have multiple letters and warnings of ADA civil rights violations submitted to the Council of Federal DOJ. Fuck the government. Nice. Fuck the police coming straight from the underground. Okay, wait. We got to do this. I was going to sip this again. We got to do this as a shot. All right. So we're now at whiskey review part 2. We did the slow sipping. I gave you my assessment. It's a very smooth whiskey, so I have a good expectation of the shot, but a shot is more, a shot is faster. It doesn't have all that prep work. Like it's a quickie, man. You're going for it. So I don't know how that's going to go down. It may be a little harsher, maybe smoother. Don't know. You get different tastes because you don't like let it linger and sit in your mouth. Review of the last stuff was you can taste the char, you can taste the oak, the woodiness of it, a little bit of caramel in there. It's not smoky, it's not peaty, it's not earthy. Obviously you got the liquor taste. Bourbon has a corn flavor to it, kind of depending on how strong it is. This one is not heavy on corn. I don't get a lot of corn flavor, but that's probably where the caramel comes from. That being said, we're going to drink, this is about a shot. I always have to guess with the rocks glasses. This is somewhere 3/4 of a shot to a shot, I think. We're going to drink all of this and see how it goes. Here we go. My God, that is smooth. It shouldn't be. Someone said this is what, like $68 at Total Wine? It's a fucking steal. I'm not a fan of shooting whiskey. I'm not. I think whiskey is a sipping drink. I think it's made for that. But, like, if you give me a shot of whiskey and say you got to take a shot, well, what am I going to do? Say no? Tracy says Joe went to Israel protest in New York City today. I would like to hear about it. I mean, I'll message him. Hey, what's up, Aussie? How you doing?
Hey, good. Yourself? Can't complain.
I can complain, but I'm not gonna.
Oh, so it's a night when you have to fall back on tasting whiskeys and that sort of thing to keep people entertained. I fully endorse and understand that, but
it was I was gonna have Ron on, but he's sick, and it's like, so I had my topics. Picked out is all First Amendment questions about Trump's cases, the gag orders on him, the gag orders on his attorneys, talking about like what they're doing to attorneys who just happen to represent the other side is crazy. We saw with Alex Jones, Norm Pattis. Norm Pattis is not a renowned far right winger, right? Like he's like an attorney. I think he's rather quote unquote liberal, probably more of a classic liberal, but he's representing Alex Jones. And I mean, 6 months they suspended his license. And you go, well, what crime, like what did he do to violate his ethical standards? And you go, oh, he represented Alex Jones is what he did. And he did a very good job of it. I know Alex lost and he lost huge, but Norm is there arguing and advocating for his First Amendment rights. And he's doing so zealously. And the judge clearly hates Alex Jones. Yeah. And is doing this. And Norm just stands his ground. Like the judge is like, you need to stop acting like this. He's like, I won't. I represent my client. And he takes the fucking whippings.
Exactly. I mean, if you're not going to fight for your client vociferously, then what the hell are you even doing in the court? Especially when it's Alex Jones, let's face it.
Yeah. But like that's the thing that we're getting into is like these lawyers are now being punished for whom they represent and the positions they represent. It's like, wait, we're supposed to have protection to zealously represent our client. I don't care if it's an untenable position. I don't care if it's a anti-government position. I don't care if it's anti-political zeitgeist, social zeitgeist. It doesn't matter. If our clients have a colorable claim or if they're a defendant, either one. If they're a defendant, they don't have to have a colorable claim. If you're a defendant, you are absolutely entitled without exception to a defense.
Of course.
Plaintiffs have to carefully craft their case. They have to make sure they have a colorable claim under law they can articulate. Now, they don't always do that. There's kind of like bootstrapping around it. We get that there's gamesmanship, but like that, there's at least this burden. A defendant has no such burden because the defendant never invites the activity. Even if a defendant says, sue me, you fag, like that is not an invitation. Like that is not actually a creation of a legal process. A defendant can never initiate a legal process against themselves. They can only grant the opportunity for someone else to decide to pull that trigger. So once they do, though, you never know who will. Once they do, you are now afforded a defense. There's no way around it. Alex Jones is afforded a defense. all the January 6th defendants are afforded a defense. The only thing I can say in favor of the state in regards to Donald Trump's lawyers is Donald Trump's lawyers, by the way, is a strong thing. He didn't have as many as they keep labeling, but people aligned with Donald Trump they were the plaintiff's attorneys in many cases. Some of them were self-represented, like Sidney Watson, like Lynn Wood, not Sidney Watson, Sidney Powell. I always mix them up.
Yeah.
Which is weird because Sidney Watson is 1/4 the size of Sidney Powell. And she's Australian. What did you do? How did you let her leave? Like, why did you do that?
Oh, dude, we disavow Sidney Watson. No, none of that. Like,
wait, tell me more about this.
Oh no! I'm just saying that after some of the shit that has come out of her mouth, I mean, you've got to remember, a good chunk of Australia is not anywhere near as based as I am, and
tell me more. Tell me more. Did you get very far? What are you talking about? Like, tell me about it though. I love this immediately. This is spicy. This is good. I don't necessarily disagree. Look, full disclosure, obviously, Sidney Watson invited me twice down to Blaze Studios. People think Elijah Schaefer invited me down to Blaze Studios to record
Sydney.
the You Are Here
I remember
podcast.
you mentioning that.
Sydney invited me both times. Now, since then, I have no idea what happened, but I get the notion that Sydney is not friendly with me. I have no idea. She's never communicated anything. But let's say there's some evidence to suggest that maybe she's not a big fan of me. Now, I did review her lawsuit and I pointed out some problems with it. I don't think that's Sydney's fault as much as I think that's Kurt Schlichter's fault, the guy who wrote it.
Yep.
And I do think there's some deficiencies in the suit itself. But hey, I lawyers disagree on stuff. That's fine. I don't hold it personally against anybody. But
you put two lawyers in a room, you're going to come out with three different opinions. Let's face it. So
right, and four if they're Jewish, and one of them costs more. But no, it's no, Sydney. Like, I don't have any problem with Sydney. I have kind of gotten rumblings that she may have some issue with me. I've never been approached with an issue, and if she talked to me about it, I would happily resolve it. She's fine by me. She's very lovely to meet in person. She was nice, and we didn't. My wife and I didn't get to spend a ton of time with her, a couple minutes, but I hate the idea that there might be bad blood. But I definitely want to know about what you're talking about because, I think it's really interesting because Sydney is on the right. She's considered based. She's a young conservative, young Republicans. Those get very popular in an aging party in general. So what you say, we don't claim her, and because you are super based, tell me about it.
No, look, it's more just, as you said, she has very, very strict conservative views that I mean, look, let's face it. At the moment, we have a left government in place that is just talking out of their ass with so many things. I mean, I think there was a news article that said that our Prime Minister in the last year has racked up enough miles that if he did it, if he wanted to, he could have travelled to the moon and back by the same distance. He is never in the frigging country to do his goddamn job. That's what irritates me. And I mean, and he's got his head so far up Xi Jinping's ass that I swear I'm not surprised that large swaths of Australia are being sold off.
How wide do you think Xi's anus stretches? He's got a lot of people.
To be fair, he's in San Francisco at the moment, so.
Oh my God, wider is the answer. Okay, keep going.
But the point is, it's the same argument that you can make for everybody. At a certain point, you start off as left-wing, as you've got your head up your ass being, human rights and all that sort of stuff. That the people before they become jaded. I mean, you went to law school. You would have known what first-year law students would have been like, thinking that they were going to change the world. And
it's the worst when you get there. That was actually, maybe it was different for you, but for me, so I'll reference this story. My friend Ty, I had him on the other night, Ty Beard. He's been a lawyer for a long time. And when my mom mentioned to him, I had not met Ty at the time. My mom mentioned to him, she's like, hey, my son's wanting to go to law school. Like, what's he to expect? And he's like, well, Nick's a smart guy from what I gather. And this is probably going to be the first time ever he's in a room full of people that are the same, level of intelligence as him.
Yep.
And my mom relays this to me. And I'm like, oh, that'll be fun. Like, that'll be cool. I guess. I don't know. That seems very complimentary. I don't think of myself as particularly smart. I just think of myself as like a witty asshole usually. But I'm like, okay, I'll take the compliment. And then I get to law school and I look around, I'm like, I'm this fucking stupid. Like I'm the holy shit. Here I am expecting like high achievers. Now, mind you, I'm not. Like my GPA in high school and college is embarrassing because why would you try? Like, why would you try this stuff? Now, look, if you're going to go to like Harvard and try and be in a top 5 law firm or whatever, great. Yeah, go try hard. But if you're going to be everybody else on the planet, just be everybody else on the planet. You don't need to excel in stuff if you want to live in the country like I did. Anyway, but I get there and I'm like, God, this is embarrassing. These people are fucking stupid for the most part. They're just as dumb as everybody else. And so you, was that the same experience you had? Like you go to law school and you look around, you're like, I was proud of myself until this moment.
Yeah, it's that moment where you go, I don't generally want to be the smartest guy in the room. In this room, I'm not, thank God for that. But thankfully, it's nice when you can sort of sit in the middle and go, yeah, okay, there's definitely some people that are idiots here too. How the hell did they get into law school? But no, it's the whole, I swear, of the, I don't know, 12 or 18 people, because I went to a relatively small law school. So
Me too. I went to a shitty law school. If you're like, your law school's ranked like 146 in the nation, I'm like, that high? Oh my God, it was bad. Like, guys, I went there because I could go at night. I have kids. I didn't do any extracurriculars. I didn't do any internships or externships. Literally the bare minimum to get a law degree to hang a shingle. But you know what? I passed the bar on the first try. Is it the law school that made me pass the bar? No, I'm just good at taking tests. I didn't even study hard. I'm literally just designed to succeed in an environment with an LSAT and then a bar exam. Because if you grade me on tests, I'll exceed your expectations every time. If you grade me on doing like work, guys, I'm late every day and I never do show prep. You think I'm good at that whole part of it? No. Game day performance, get your vaginas ready because this dick is out for Harambe. Every other time, I'm embarrassingly bad. But law school is geared for those two moments, your LSAT and then the bar exam. If you can just struggle through and like show up, like I think it was the exact middle of my class. I'm pretty sure. My buddy,
and that's the scary thing.
That like the guy right next to me too.
That's the scary thing that a lot of people don't realize is that of the cohort people, you got to remember they grade on a bell curve. There's a good number of people that are pretty shitty lawyers that make it past, and now
look, like I make no bones about it. I think I can represent clients very well in certain areas. I do, but I'm not like a great lawyer because great lawyers have great teams around them typically. And those teams make up for their weaknesses and their strengths are accelerated and enhanced where their weaknesses are compensated. I was a solo practitioner. I didn't really ever make, I'm not saying I didn't make the opportunity to be a great lawyer. I did not find the one thing I was really good at, focus heavily on that, and then pay people to compensate me. I didn't get around to it. I was only really heavily practiced for like 3 years on my own. That said, I can service my clients. I can do great things, like very great things for them. And I got great results for everybody who hired me. But if people wanted to hire me for like a murder case, I would never say yes. No, hire the guy who does murder cases all the time, who has like a bunch of paralegals and who has co-counsel and all this shit. You need that. Like you need resources. Like, you want to hire me to do your stupid drug bust? Yeah, I got you, fam, all day. Like, that's no problem. Oh, you got a petty gun crime? Sure. Oh, you stole stuff? And I know you stole it because look at you. I know you stole that shit. Or like you threaten your boyfriend with a knife while lifting your shirt up. That's the funniest video I have, by the way. But like,
I'm going to ask about that later. Yep.
You don't ask later. No, it's chick I defended. She was charged with domestic assault.
Right.
And normally it goes the other way, but the guy had set up a webcam, right? And he had because apparently she had a pattern of this behavior. I don't know. I'm just going off of the words of the guy.
Yeah.
And so he set up a webcam and he knew it would happen at some point. And then he retreated to his computer room. And then like when she starts banging on the door, he eventually opens it and she's fucking destroyed. Like she is so hammered. And she's like, saying stuff that you would expect in like a cheap B movie. And she's like pulling, she doesn't actually get naked, but she like pulls it. She's like, you want to see or whatever. And then she's got a knife in her hand the whole time. Like, this motherfucker is terrified because he's kind of a beta. And I'm like, this poor guy, like, you feel bad for him because she might kill him. I don't know. She's pretty drunk.
But at least the last thing you see is his titties.
But no, you didn't though. Her shirt never came up all the way. But I have to watch this with her and her mom in my office. I'm like watching this video and I'm like, so this doesn't look great though. Because what do you say? What do you say? You're like, I mean, this doesn't look great. Like, maybe we need to look at a plea because.
Oh wait, was she the client?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I thought you were representing him. Oh my god!
No, criminal defense. She was charged. And I'm like, ooh, got her. And she didn't do any jail time. Like, got her a great deal.
Nicely done.
But it was like you guys got to understand, negotiating for no jail time when someone is clearly domestically assaulting someone with a knife in hand on video. That's a good fucking result. Like, that's a win. And she didn't get charged. We actually got to drop to a misdemeanor. So no felony record because of her profession would have been over with a felony. So like we did that. Look, I took clients like that all the time. And the hardest part of those clients is they don't have any money.
Yep.
Out here, the county I live in is 50,000 people. They don't have the money to like get a defense. But I'm a fucking sucker who's like, I gotta help you like a little bit. I've been drunk before.
And they're the ones that hurt as well, because you
never tried to
feel for the
stab a
client, you know the
motherfucker.
situation they're in, and it's like you just want to do what you can, because you always get the sob stories that tug at the heartstrings. I mean, there's a reason that my practice has a certain level of pro bono that I do, but I have had to stop practicing in like criminal and family law. I can't do it anymore. Dude,
and it's so tough because someone comes in, they go, I've got no income. I haven't been employed for like 8 months. I don't know what to do. I have this problem. And you're like, fuck. I have this brain and this hand that can write words that solves your problem. Magic words can come out of my pen and solve your problem. And the only reason I'm not is because you don't have 10 grand to give me right now. Maybe more later. You feel like an asshole. Speaking of people who feel like an asshole but are definitely not, but are super great. What's up, Joe?
Joe! What an intro. What an intro. God bless you.
That's a great intro, right?
Yeah, it really was. It was very, very solid. It was a very smooth transition. I like how you worked it there. So,
guys, Joe, lots of people say bad things about him to me, very specifically in emails with nude pictures attached. And I'm like, this is not, I don't want your nude pictures and I don't want your shit talking about Joe. Joe is a great stand-up dude, always been a fantastic friend.
Wait a second, really? You get emails about me?
No.
Oh, okay.
Way to dispel the illusion, Joe. Way to dispel the illusion. I had him going. I had him eating out of my hand. They're like, people send bad emails about Joe with nudes. Nick is the weirdest life ever. And Joe's like, wait, really? And I'm like, no, Joe.
I'm sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to destroy the illusion. I apologize.
Like that.
How you been? How you been,
was
Aussie Overlord? I haven't seen you like in a year.
It's been ages. Yeah, can't complain.
Yeah.
Well, in Australia time, it's only 3 months.
Well, this is true. Although social media, 3 months feels like 10 years.
You're looking really svelte. I'm liking it.
Dude, I actually, you know what? I wasn't going to say it because I didn't notice until Joe pointed out gay. No, the hair, the beard, and the mustache on point, dude. You're looking great.
Fleek.
Cheers.
Fleek.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Stop trying to make
I did just have the goatee. I grew out the beard.
fleeky.
The wife hates it, but you know, just you got to do what you got to do. So
No,
I think it looks quite nice. So
she only says she hates it. It's not true.
eh.
Trust me, I'm an expert on women that I've never met in my life. She's like, no, do something else. That's not actually her expressing hatred of what you have. It's her desire to have influence over what you do because that influence will make her feel important, loved, and desired. But what you have to do sometimes is say, listen, ho, I have a beard because I am not gay.
Exactly. I have testosterone. I'm going to exhibit it, and I'm going to make myself look manly because we all know when I had no facial hair, I had a baby face, and it was not doing me any favors. So.
Dude, Epstein called me and asked me for your number.
Oh, fuck. You should have shared it. I might have gotten in the will.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Joe, I heard you went to a protest today.
I did. I was in D.C. today. I ended up not even streaming because I got back too late. What?
Someone said you were in New York. You went to D.C. instead?
Well, there was a massive rally in D.C. So where like basically every Jew on the planet was. So I figured it's part of the whole circumcision thing.
Wait a minute. We all gathered in one place. I thought we learned a lesson.
Yeah, so there was a massive rally. I went down there. I was streaming it on locals. It was kind of cool. There was a lot of people. It was like they said like 200,000 plus or so. It was really jammed.
I'm not going to say all of the jokes that I have for this.
But
Joe.
not 600,000, 200,000. Yeah, thank you.
Did you see that? You saw that joke?
It was staring you in the face.
It was a good joke, Joe. It was a good joke. Come on.
Yeah.
It's a good joke.
There were 6 million of us there. We had a good time.
Look, there's 200,000 people there. Are you going to argue with 600,000 people? Are you going to argue with 1.5 million people? How did we do it with 2 million people?
Now the joke's getting worse. Now you're crossing the line.
No, I was talking about my joke at my stand-up. Did you see my stand-up joke? I thought
the highlight was I actually met Ted Cruz totally by accident.
No shit.
Oh, yeah? Was he there hunting Jews? Like, what was he doing?
So he didn't. I didn't see him speak or anything like that. But I was on my way out, and he was going to like the super special people entrance. Oh, and there was a whole bunch of folks there who were all like taking pictures with him and stuff like that. So I like went over to him and I just was like talking to him for like a minute or so. So yeah,
and you made it out alive. Congratulations.
Made it out alive. Thank God. Yeah, it was all like it was actually a pretty cool event. It wasn't like there's a difference. This is something I didn't really think about before. Like a week ago, there's a difference between a march and a protest and a rally. These are three different.
Yeah, march is something I won't do. That sounds like too much work.
Yes, way too much work. Like, hell no. Yeah, my people have been marched before. We're not doing that again. A protest just sounds like a protest sounds like a bunch of folks who are like all getting together, just like really angry and looking to like tear down stuff. But a rally was really a rally in support of the hostages, and that was really the fixation, like the fact that there are 240 hostages right now, like a dozen Americans, as far as we know, they're still alive. So, yeah, that's so it was basically, it was, and I wasn't gonna go. I really was not gonna go for a whole bunch of reasons that certain things
I don't go to any of these things because I don't want to get stabbed.
I wasn't worried about getting stabbed.
You weren't.
I wasn't worried about counter protests.
I'm kind of a dick.
It was more there's certain politically, just certain things I wasn't really in love with about the whole idea. But then I was like, I'm kind of a jerk if I like make that instead of recognizing that this is really about the hostages being held in captivity. And
tell me about the things you disagree with though, because that's an interesting statement you just made. Very, very because I'm like, okay, wait, it's a rally about hostages, result of this, Israel-Gaza conflict. I got that. But you said there's political things that you don't agree with or don't want to make it about. Like what kind of thing? I'm not familiar. So what kind of things are there that are like frustrating? Because I can think of some, but it's purely in the abstract. I don't know anything about what they would be. I try to stay away from the whole.
I personally, I don't think it's a wise idea to push for American money. I don't think it's fair to ask American taxpayers for money. I don't think it's appropriate. I've been America first on every other issue. I've been very anti-spending money on the Ukrainian war. And I don't think that it's right to push America for money. If someone wants to donate to help out the hostages, I say to you, power to you, God bless you, you're an amazing person.
That's what we should be doing. Like that to me, that is the essence of charity. It is the voluntary participation in a cause you believe in. The moment you have forced charity, it's no longer charity. You're just funding a government edict.
So to the extent I was worried that this would be viewed as a call for Congress to sign bigger bills or something like that, that was what made me feel uncomfortable about it, to the point that I wasn't going to go. But then I sort of realized that, like, it's like I'm sort of being a bit of a dick and not considering the fact that there's 240 hostages, and if there's a terrible turnout at this, in that case, it's basically saying, F you, we don't care. So that's why I basically ended up going. But yeah, there's a real split amongst Jews as far as like the idea of taking money. To me, I'm like, you know what? Stand on your own hind legs. And I know it's going to be tough. And America all I want from America is this: just don't condemn any of the activities they're doing to root out terrorism. Whatever steps they feel they need to do for their own security, just stand behind them and say, we totally support you on that, and we totally think you're in the right on that. But anything else, I definitely don't want troops. I certainly don't want a stinking war with Iran, and I don't want money. I want America to say, Israel, you do what you got to do. The same way we here in America would do whatever we need to protect ourselves if we actually had a Congress that cared about protecting our borders, something like that. So, whatever steps we felt was necessary, that's what you expect. You basically say to your friend, I got your back, and that I support you in everything that you're doing. You don't have to necessarily give money or troops or anything like that in order to express that support. And that's basically that's been my take on it. It's something that other people disagree with me on this, but that's my personal take on it.
No, it's like, obviously people are going to have different opinions on the conflict itself. I don't know a shitload about the current politics. I know there's a ton of history. I tend to default to the side of Israel, generally speaking, because they have bigger guns and they also hold my mortgage. So like, that's the main reasons I do that. But no, the reality is, like, look, I do feel bad for Palestinians because all of the Arabic countries around them were just like, fuck these guys. We want them to be our political weapon. And I ranted about this the other day. I'm like, Palestine and Israel will not be solved because everyone gets to use Palestine and Israel as a proxy for justification for everything else they do. I mean, we see China justifying their actions based on Palestinian shit going on in Gaza. I'm like, well, China doesn't care. Like, right. This is a pretext.
Russia too.
Yeah,
and of course. Do you know that the Egyptian, I don't know, he's the president or whatever, the Egyptian leader, I forgot his name. I saw a quote from him recently where he said, the most important problem right now is, the most important thing we should always consider is that the Palestinians must stay where they are. Like, it's like a big deal to them that they have to be a constant thorn. And that's like Israel's friend, Egypt, supposedly. And they're like, no, Palestinians have to be a thorn. Now, we can't resettle them. We can't find some place for them to be happy, because it's never, ever been about like helping them find happence.
No, it's about having a tool.
Yeah, it's totally about using them as a tool. And they are, you know what, a certain percentage of them are definitely pawns in this game here, which is awful. It's terrible. I don't want to see anyone be in that kind of position.
Right. That's my whole issue on the thing is, like, look, regardless of all the politics around, it's really easy to say, well, this side does this side does this. You can pick one, you can pick the other. You can say one's evil, the other is evil. And all I see is someone dragging their kid out of a pile of rubble, or someone who's lamenting, like that tattoo artist who got killed. Like her and her mom had hope for a little while that she was still alive, but then of course it came out that she was killed. And I was like, that girl was really, really hot. And like, she died. Like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to add levity to it. I'm trying to joke. But no, it's like, anyone who looks at either side of this and goes, like, for me, I just go, I cannot imagine pulling my kid out of rubble dead. And I cannot imagine my kid going to a rave, a party, a concert, and not coming back because of some other person's political agenda. Like, these people are just people who go, like a kid's going to school, kid's going to a hospital, a kid's going to a library. This Israeli chick is just going, she's going out to a party and dancing in the desert with a bunch of other people. I'd probably be there. If I was in Israel during that party, guaranteed I would be like, that's why I would go. That'd be like, I don't want to go see where Jesus died. I want to go see where people live. That's not even a joke. Like I firmly believe that where life is happening is more important than where death has happened. And I don't care about monuments. I care about people. And so for me, I look at both sides of this conflict. I go, I can identify with every dad who has to now go to his dinner table and look where their kid used to sit and they're not there anymore. Yeah. And I go, I don't fucking care about politics. I care about that. I care about that thing. And then like a bunch of other people can fret over the politics, but I think that's kind of what you're saying is like, no one wants to see this. No one wants this shit. There are realities behind it and we can quibble over it all day. But right now in the immediate time, like this is a humanitarian issue on both sides of the glass by people who are not decision makers. These are people living in their homes in Israel when these guys come in and start just mowing people down in their own kitchens and shit. And then these are like kids going to school and being used as a fucking human shield in Gaza because Hamas is an evil fucking organization. It's like to like whitewash this as Hamas equals Palestine is crazy and insane. And I know people have all of the quotes and justifications to do it, but it's like, no, most people in Gaza are just like, they're like you and I guys, like they get up, they go, I got to go to work so I can bring home a steak maybe once. And then that's it. Like that's the reality.
I'll tell you, I don't know. I think what you're saying is leads to a common mistake, because I don't think, and this is where I'll correct you. I don't think a Western mindset is the same as a Middle Eastern mindset or a Far Eastern mindset.
I know what you're going to say, and I have your rebuttal planned already. But go ahead and do your point, so I can.
What I'm saying is
like a Gazan hospital.
And it's not. Look, I'm not saying all Palestinians. Definitely not. I think that there certainly are people who I agree with you. There's a massive difference between Hamas and Palestinians. A 1,000,000%. That's definitely true. What I think is, though, that I think that even people who are not necessarily part of the leadership in Hamas, I think that a certain percentage of them have a different perspective as to what makes them happy or what their objectives for life are, which are different from an American mindset.
Of course.
And a lot of them are very religious and they genuinely believe. I mean, I've seen videos of a woman crying with joy, like exulting that her husband became a martyr.
I'm with you. I'm with you on this. Okay.
That's a mindset we can't get our heads around. Imagine celebrating your spouse getting killed. That like, oh my God, this is the greatest day on earth. You can't think like that. I can't think like that.
I think we can. I don't think we have opportunity to do so very often. But let me say this though, because like I get that and I understand that. And I understand there's this underlying prejudice and bias, but I always go back to this is a result of a state orchestrated campaign, a state orchestrated indoctrination goal that they are conditioning Palestinians to hate
definitely
Jewish people. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't hate and that hate isn't legitimate. I would never say that, but I am saying that on the average day, like these people wake up and want to go to work. Like they may go in the back of their mind, like, and by the way, fuck the Jews. Like that might be a thing, but like they're really focused on getting their coffee, going to work. And because I have a bunch of people I really fucking hate, like, or a bunch of concepts, and it's always in the back of my mind. The main thing is, what do I have to do today? And like now, because we have our spheres of influence, and I think most people aren't there. Now, obviously, tons of indoctrination. I think to play devil's advocate, like obviously there's indoctrination on the Israeli side. I think that indoctrination comes from a whole lot of experience into how fucking risky it is to be Israel on the average day. And the fact that this thing came out of nowhere is just, it's a proof text of why that security needs to exist. But I think also most Israelis, even those who hate like Palestinians and hate the fact that these people are trying to kill them, they don't wake up during the day going, you know what? I hope a fucking Gazan dies today. Right. Like they wake up and they go, I want to go to work. My kid needs a diaper change. My wife needs this thing. You know, my uncle is sick. I got to go to the pharmacy and pick up stuff. Like they're just people. People go through the day. But I'm not trying to cheapen like the indoctrination or anything like that. I'm just saying like these decisions get made by people who are decision makers and imposed upon everybody else.
Yes,
and yeah,
that's true.
There's this level of complicity or acceptance or endorsement that can come from any number of reasons. A lot of it is just pure propaganda from birth. But like the ultimate thing is there's a group of decision makers. And I think if we could get those fucking decision makers out of the way, particularly on the Palestinian side, because I don't think Israel has too much desire to fuck up Gaza most of the time. But I think that what they'd really like is like you guys would just leave, like it'd be great, but no one will take them.
Or just live your lives without worrying or thinking about us twice.
I hate to do this, but at this, like I do kind of empathize a little bit with living in occupation. Like now, there's reasons that Israel occupies Gaza. Like, make no mistake. But at the same time,
time out. I'm glad you brought that up.
Let's do that. Yeah,
let's do this. Yeah. How exactly were they occupied?
How is Gaza occupied?
Prior to October 7th.
How is Gaza occupied prior to October 7th?
There was Hamas government. There was no Israeli troops there. There's no Israeli presence. There's no Jews anywhere in Gaza.
Yeah, but
there is no settlements in Gaza. There's no nothing. It was all completely controlled by Hamas for 17 years. So in what way was that an open air prison, or that this is or occupation, or walk me through it, because I've heard this term occupation thrown around and I don't even know what the origin is.
Okay, but hear me out.
Okay.
Let's say you have your house, right? And your property. And there's no US government troops on your property. No one's bothering you with your life, right? But all your neighboring properties, there's a National Guard contingent of 4 people that are all around it, right? Like,
no, like my point is, Gaza's not a small. It's not like the size of your town.
No, I know.
So what I'm saying is,
I'm analogizing.
It's the size of a small country.
Yeah.
And there were no Israeli soldiers or anyone. I mean, it was all under Hamas control. You know that 17 years ago,
Hamas is terrible. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not on the side.
What I'm saying is this term occupation gets thrown around as if it's accepted fact, and I don't even understand the nature of why someone would label it an occupation anytime in the last 15 years. I mean, other than the fact that Israel kept a firm border to try and ensure that something that happened on October 7th wouldn't happen, and that obviously failed. My point is, what makes an occupation? Why is it more occupied than Mexico is occupied by America?
Well, because America isn't around all of the sides of Mexico.
Israel's not around all the sides of Gaza either.
Really? Like, what side of Gaza is not? Hold on.
Well, maybe Egypt. They have a border with Egypt.
They have a border with Egypt. Well, who would want one of those? Like when you really get down to it.
You're in the Middle East. It's not.
I'm looking at. Okay.
I mean, Israel is bordered by a whole bunch of enemy states. Also, everyone on every border hates them.
Yes, that's a 2 cocaine fallacy. Okay, yes,
what I'm saying is they're not occupied. I would never say they're occupied.
Can the Palestinians leave Palestine freely?
I don't think. That's a fair question, which I honestly don't know the answer to.
I think the answer.
I don't want to speak out of turn and say, "Oh, sure, they could." They definitely could not come into Israel. That I'll definitely.
Right, you can't come into Israel, and I think, and this is not a criticism of Israel, but I'm pretty sure Egypt doesn't let them in either, or they do now because of humanitarian efforts.
I don't think they do because of humanitarian either.
Or not like no, lately, like in the past 2 weeks or whatever. There's been
last month.
Some humanitarian corridor that's been partially open at certain times is all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's great, but look, so what I do in these situations, I hear what you're saying. There's no Israelis in 2007. They pulled out of Gaza. I am not a person who's like, what Israel's doing to Gaza is terrible. I really don't. I don't give a fuck, by the way. I think I support how Israel defends its borders. And I think we could take notes in some occasions. What I'm saying though is, if I try to put my head into the mind of a Palestinian who says I am occupied, I'm like, okay, well, like there's not an Israeli, an IDF soldier there. I mean, if there was, you'd hope it was Gal Gadot, right? Like that's
right. If there were soldiers there, I would say, oh yeah, they've been under occupation, and that would be a whole different perspective. If they were under occupation,
that's not the point I was making, Joe.
They would not have been October 7th.
The point I was making was, I think we can all agree that if Gal Gadot is the IDF soldier, we would all repeal the Third Amendment. That's all I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get to. And here you are. You're like making a greater
right
point.
Now. There's like a couple of hundred people who are researching the Third Amendment.
So the whole thing, that was just a joke. But no, I try to empathize. I'm like, what don't I understand? Because like to me, I see Israel. I know the history of like the state of Israel and why its borders are the way it's are. Like this makes sense. This is the only way you've been able to protect yourself. The borders that were originally created are fucking garbage. That was obvious. And Israel was hilarious in predicting the preemptive strike of the 7-day war. Was it 6 or 7 days?
The 7-day war.
7 days.
The 6-day war. The 6-day war.
6-day war. Well, 6-day war with interest to 7-day wars. And then they predicted it. They preempted it. They nailed it. And I think that's the funniest thing they could have possibly done, because they shocked everybody and they won. Right. But then I go, okay, if I'm going to put my head in the mind of a Palestinian who says I'm occupied, how do I look at this? I go, well, I can't leave Gaza. I can't go into Israel. That's the Jews' fault. I can't go into Palestine, or I can't go into Egypt. That's the Egyptians' fault, but I blame the Jews anyway because I hate them, and I can't blame the Egyptians.
So wait, is Russia occupying Poland?
Well, no, because Russia isn't on 3 sides of Poland.
So they're not letting you cross in there. They're not letting you cross in there. I mean, when we actually had a real border, was that?
But the Poles can go somewhere else. Like the Gazans, it's not Israel's fault that the Gazans can't go into Egypt, but they can't go into Egypt, right?
Okay. But can they not fly to Europe?
I don't know that they can.
I see. I don't know why that would be. Why can't they fly anywhere?
Okay, so but let's say they can though. But that is a paywall on liberation, right?
Okay.
So look, again, you got to understand, Joe. What I'm doing here is I'm arguing the minimalist.
You're playing devil's advocate. I'm not upset at all. I understand. This is the healthiest conversation I've had about this since October 7th.
Well,
so
wait till I get my tits out. So when I go, okay, like, look, occupation obviously is a loaded term. I will concede fully that they're from 2007 to whatever, October 7th or whatever. There's not Israeli troops in Palestine. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if you are Iowa, okay, if you're Iowa and North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Illinois, and then Missouri, all go fuck Iowa, right? And they're all united, and they say, and it's all one faction, the Midwest versus Iowa, and then Kansas is like, well, like, we don't agree with those guys, but also fuck Iowa. We don't want Iowans in here. Who does? And then the Iowans go, I can't go into any neighboring state at all. Like, I cannot leave. Even though there's no person in your fucking backyard, you feel like there's a gun pointed at you and you feel occupied, right? Like, we can identify with that. Like,
okay, so let me ask you that. Okay, if I accept your givens, and let me ask you, why is it that no one screamed about Egypt occupying Gaza?
Because the world is politically motivated, and the critics are politically motivated against Israel. I've already said Israel and Gaza are also. Yeah, Egypt, I'm with you.
Egypt doesn't have experience of decades of having an intifada and people getting on a bus and blowing themselves up for the purpose of killing their civilians.
Egypt has no reason to block Palestinians across Egypt.
Exactly. So they have
they have one reason. And the reason is the political weaponization of the Gaza people. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that that these other countries, like Egypt and Jordan, I think, are the biggest villains in this story, because Egypt and Jordan have had ample opportunity since the creation of the Jewish state in Israel in 1946 or whatever.
1948.
48. Okay, 48. You know more than me. Since the creation in 48, Jordan and Israel and Egypt had every opportunity to bring people in, assimilate and integrate them into similar cultures to theirs, with similar religious beliefs, similar ideals about what was good in life, all of that stuff. They could have been the perfect melting pot for Palestinians. They chose not to, and I think it's for a political end. But that being said, if I'm a Palestinian and I go, I can't leave my state, I can't leave.
You're saying in their mind it creates a justification for hating.
And remember, their propaganda is towards Israel. So they're not going to ask why Egypt doesn't let them in. They're like, well, of course Egypt won't let us in because it's the dirty Jews' fault.
Those are fair points from a Palestinian perspective.
I'm not trying to say that Gaza is the ultimate occupied country. I'm not trying to say that Gaza is the same as like Crimea or any, there's all sorts of examples of real occupation, but there is this sentiment that I try to identify where I go, like, if I'm a Palestinian, I feel fucking trapped, and I feel trapped on three sides by these Israeli people. And that's where I'm going to focus my hatred, because I've been told to. Not that it's justifiable, but just that it is. Like, so.
Do you think Hayden is flipping us the bird with that picture?
Yeah, I think Hayden is telling us that he's gay.
He's like, all right, I got it. There's a whole thing going on with
this. But hey, so I did not, like, I brought you on to talk about the protest, but then I brought you on, like, really to talk about others. I am not an expert on Israel and Palestine. I don't want to profess that I know anything about it.
I know. If we want an expert,
dude, you still know more than me. I've been sitting here for the last 10, 15, 20 minutes so far out of my fucking depth because I have deliberately avoided talking about this on my channel. So I know nothing. I mean, the one thing that I had a rant about it on, I think it was Monday morning. The only reason I got dragged into anything in relation to this was because on Remembrance Day, our version of Memorial Day that was last Saturday, a bunch of pro-Palestinian protesters spray-painted and graffitied a bunch of our war memorials. And I was ropeable over it. Other than that, I've stayed the hell away from it. I know shit all. I can see that there's Aussies in chat that are pissed off about that. Guys, I don't care. Okay?
Same. By the way, this is the most I've said about the conflict at all. And the only reason I've done it is because I know that Joe will take my opinions, my takes, and even my lack of knowledge on certain subjects as what they are: complete good faith discussions based on the compassion of humanity that I have, not based on any political allegiance. That's the only reason I'm even talking about it. I fucking hate the subject. I hate what it does to chat. I hate the shit I see on Twitter. I hate the shit I see everywhere else, because all I go is, God, I cannot imagine waking up with a pile of rubble and dragging my child's lifeless body out of it. I just can't. And I don't care what color or nationality you are. When I think of that, it is my worst fear ever since I became a dad, that something would make me bury my kids rather than forcing those assholes to bury me.
Well, I'm with you as far as looking to, in general, avoid a topic. For the first 2 weeks after it happened, it was like a daily thing that, like, and it seemed as if people really wanted me to talk about it. Like, I got more engagement during those 2 weeks than I had in months. But it was just like, this is just like, it's too aggravating. Like, yeah, I can talk about any other topic and really believe in what I'm saying without it feeling as if, like, it's at a certain point, like, how do I not take this, like, personally? So, like, I just fixated on Trump and on the speaker race and all that other stuff that was happening. And I spent 3 weeks without thinking about this or certainly on my show as little as possible. In fact, tomorrow I plan on jumping right back in on the Colorado Trump trial.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, this is it's a fun trial.
Matthew Cooper says, nope, I'm calling bullshit. You can call bullshit whatever you want. Like, go find me talking about this conflict. Every time it comes up, I avoid the topic because I don't know, and I'm not invested in it. I think it's really unfair to guys like Joe. I know when I bring Ron Coleman was supposed to be on tonight, but he's not feeling well. I know when I bring Ron on, people are going to press him on the Israel Gaza thing. And it's like, wait, do you think, what position do you think Ron is going to have? Like, it's pretty fucking obvious. But I think it's really unfair to put on people because there is, like, you guys have a different, you're going to have a different perspective on this, obviously, than I or anyone else will, even if we come to the same conclusions, because you've got different baggage attached. And it's like expecting people to do something according to your desires when their calculation is going to be different. And especially when you know it and then demanding they do the other thing, that's what I hate. And so that's why I've been avoiding this fucking conflict and the talk about it. It's because, one, I'm not an expert. I don't profess to be an expert. I can spout off some shit, and I can get into the humanitarian aspect. I can get into the psychology of people because I'm just a person. I got that. But I don't want to come across like I know Middle East history, and all the military. No. And neither do 90% of the people talking about this. Like, you read a wiki article. I'm very glad that you did, but you should have just jerked off to porn instead. You should.
Hayden, what have you been up to?
Look, it's been pretty interesting. I started a new trial this morning. The Dead in the Ditch trial, which was interesting. Thankfully, there was something wrong with the stream, so I managed to blow through 2 days of trial coverage in like 4 hours. Some guy was... Okay, so this was interesting. Guy is dating a girlfriend. Their kids are both dating each other. And then he supposedly managed to kill her at some point while she's in his truck. She owed him $300, and she took a safe with her with $1,500 in it.
Look, wait, she owed him $300, or he owed her $300?
No, she owed him $300.
You definitely.
So she went to her mother's house.
You $300. Like, you got to kill her.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's anything more than $250, you've got to end a life.
Did she kill him, or did he kill her?
He killed her allegedly.
Justified self-defense.
So there's argument over whether or not the $1,200 was actually stolen, or if it was because he actually deposited $1,500 into his account. So the argument is, well, was the extra $300 that was because it was allegedly? I can see people in chat. I don't give a shit. I'm telling the story.
You do that. I'm gonna go take a piss.
Yeah, you go, girl. Give me you and me.
Wait. Oh shit! I got the wrong. I need to avatar. Good logic. We're coming for you. We have problem with everything about your existence. Aussie, you're okay. You're upside down, backwards. We will not burn you like a wife who has not been faithful. But Joe, well, we will have a talk. Do not get on any city buses soon, my friend.
Oh, good dear God.
Go on. Tell us about your trial, brother.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, look, it's been fairly short-lived so far. I'm looking forward to doing an actual full day of trial coverage tomorrow, which will be nice.
Mm-hmm.
But
you have your trucker buddy ready?
Sorry,
you have your trucker buddy ready?
No, not this time around. I mean, the
You're
law is like 3 steps away, so I'm not
locked
worried.
into that chair for like 8 hours. 8 hours. True. You're just like locked in there. You got to have your food ready, have your drinks ready, you got to have everything ready. Seriously.
Oh yeah, I've got like a little mini bar that I have everything like all set up just in case I need it. But it's people don't realize how much stress that doing a trial stream actually puts on your body. But
I mean, once you start doing it, it's like it comes like second nature. Like you're just sort of talking about like what you're seeing there, and just and you sort of find your groove. I think you'll be great at it. You'll be great at it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's not like it's like the 24-hour streams. I mean, how many of those have I done? You just sort of you just got to find as you said, find your groove, just hit at it. I mean, it's easy when no one can notice when you're playing Diablo.
How many 24-hour streams have you done?
Including the 25-hour stream, 3 in the last 18 months.
Wow.
And yes, I did like 25 hours and 6 minutes or something, so I'd be longer than Nick's last 24-hour stream.
He's so petty.
Yep. I have no issues with being petty at times. It's a winner. But no, you've been in DC. What I mean, I've been trying to follow the like the Trump stuff. I don't get to talk too much about the Trump because every time I talk about Orange Man bad, not that I'm saying Orange Man's bad, I'm saying every time I talk about him, for some reason my views get nuked.
Oh,
so
interesting. So we can nuke his
yeah.
channel here. We can talk about like we'll talk about fraud. We'll talk about all sorts of stuff and get his channel just thrown off here. He can't stop us. Yeah, I actually started a second channel called Trump Trial, just because I figured that over the next year, there's probably gonna be a lot of people on YouTube searching for that. So and that's gonna be that's exclusively related to, you know, all the different trials or anything related to him or elections and that sort of stuff. So. Yeah, that's where I'm planning on really fixating over the next 12 months, is really looking in at the GOP race, following up on whether Biden. Do you think Biden's going to make it all the way to 24? Or he's going to be replaced?
I'm not expecting him to. If he makes it over the line in 2024, it'll be purely so that they can knock him off and Kamala can get her legs in the air. It's just.
I don't think he's going to end up running. I think it's more likely right now that Trump will be on the ticket. A lot more likely that Trump will be on the ticket than Biden will be on the ticket. I think that he's gonna have some sort of illness or whatever. They're never gonna admit that he's just got too much dementia, because that's just, they won't admit that. But I mean,
look, I've got some friends on the far right that are telling me they don't even think it's going to make it there. They think that they're counting on civil war before it gets to that. So,
I mean, look, anything is a possibility. But I think that the Democrats don't want him. They're scared of him running. I think that they recognize
everything
that
they can to make sure he doesn't.
Yeah, for all the gaslighting that they do about Bidenomics and how wonderful the country is, I think they recognize that most of the country. I think his approval rating is in the mid to low 30s. So I think they're terrified that if they put him up there, he will lose to Trump. And I think they feel like almost anyone else has a better shot in saying, they're going to shake things up. And their dream candidate is probably Michelle Obama. And, oh my God, she's terrifying, because I think that she has so much popularity from so many crazies on the left that that I think she'd be tough to beat. But yeah, I think Gavin Newsom seems like the guy that they want. If you ask me, I think it's likely to be Gavin Newsom, maybe Gretchen. But
I mean, Newsom seems to be setting himself up. I don't know if you saw it, but he just signed off on a bill to introduce, what is it? They've got some fancy wording for it, but what it boils down to is introducing the classes where they have to identify fake news in school.
Really?
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. It's
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was an assembly bill. I can't remember what the number is. I only talked about it like 2 days ago. But yeah, he's just signed it in so that, and it's not even that it's a specific class. It's that certain aspects of all classes, it has to be interwoven in amongst the curriculum, specifically in relation to like computer science classes and that sort of thing.
Wow.
Media literacy, thank you. I think that's what they were calling it, but there was roundabout ways that they were adding to that.
Strong in California.
No,
I know, right? That's what I was thinking. I mean,
I think you guys need to be acclimated to literacy. You guys are illiterate assholes from media, from what I can tell.
Can you enlighten us? Can you teach us how we can better understand and tell fact from fiction? How do I know if someone is telling me the truth?
Are they black, Joe?
Do they identify as Republican?
Are they black, Joe?
Let's say they're not. Let's say they're a different minority, though.
Oh my God! Why are you watching those? No, so that is a lie from the state. Are they black, Joe? Let's try again. Let me have you answer the question properly. Are they black, Joe?
Yes, they're black. How
dare you see color, you fucking monster? What, do you want to own them? They're black to fulfill your ownership slavery fetishes? No, I'm sorry. You are illiterate. You need to go to the camp with everybody else. Go to the summer camp where the counselors touch you, and they also teach you how to say the right things. Like, no, Counselor Joe didn't touch me, or whatever.
So many good memories you're bringing up.
Oh dear God,
dude! Did you guys have to go to day camp when you were kids? I had to go to day camp. Like, what the hell is day camp? They're like, well, it's like a camp, but you don't stay overnight. Like, well, I don't want to stay overnight, but I also don't want to go during the day because you said it's a camp. And they're like, no,
I didn't have to sit through anything like that.
It'll be fun. You'll take a canoe out of the lake. I'm like, why would I want to take a canoe out of the lake? In fact, the funny thing about my life is up until now, I've never even considered the possibility of taking a canoe out of the lake to determine if I would like it. But now that you've proposed it, I don't want to go on a canoe out on the lake. I actually just want to not do that to the highest extent. I'm like, well, when you get back from the canoe, you'll have lunch and you'll sing camp songs. I'm like, you are adding to the list of things that was not on my agenda.
Did you really not want to do that even when you were like 8, 9 years old?
Why would you want to go on a canoe on a lake, Joe?
It's a canoe. Like, I don't even see in your question. Like, the question answers itself. It's a canoe. Why would,
Joe,
you're 8
how many
years old.
feathers are in my headdress? I don't want to go on a goddamn canoe.
Why. You can sit there and do the whole tear down from your eye.
Joe, I've never heard the wolf cry from the blue corn moon either. I own property. I don't think property has a soul. Like, I don't want to go on a canoe. Good God.
No, I definitely.
You know what the best part about canoeing is? Portage. That's where you pick it up and you carry the canoe rather than it carrying you. This seems terrible. I'm like, no, it's great. You haul a canoe over your head until you get to the other water. I'm like, I don't want to be on the first water. Why would I go across land, which is perfectly fine, to get in the second water? And second of all, why would I carry basically what is effectively a fat woman over the top of me to get in it? I don't want to be on a canoe. I don't want to carry a canoe over good ground to get into other water that I don't want to be in a canoe in. This is the worst plan ever, Joe. I want to play video games. You know why? Because you asked what I did when I was 8. I had a Nintendo, Joe. I had a Nintendo.
Oh, you were one of those kids.
One of
you
those.
Had a Nintendo.
One of literally every kid ever made. Marble Madness is losing in Marble Madness over and over and over is better than getting in a canoe 50 days out of 5. Joe,
that's a fucking loser.
Yeah, well, okay. Look, I didn't grow up like you rich kids there who get to go to your little day camps with your canoes and your tennis lessons and all that other.
That's why you get a friend that is rich that has one of the Nintendos. That's why you
get tennis lessons, Joe. I had to go to I had to pilot a canoe and then come back and sing Christ songs. I didn't want to sing Christ songs today. I didn't want to sing when I was 8 either.
Okay, I grew up poor, okay? We didn't have no canoes where I grew up. We had a stick and we had dirt. And you took the dirt, you took the stick and you dug it into the ground and you sort of dug a little hole and then you had to try to throw it into the hole from like far away because we couldn't afford a basketball.
I would do that every day. Poor kids had it better.
Wait, did you just admit to practicing spearing people?
Yeah. He grew up in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It was called Zaire, or maybe I don't know what year it was. It might have been called AIDS originator.
And all those rich kids in their canoes. I had dreams of going to camp. I was like, please, no, we're going to go on a trip. My parents are both historians, okay? So
no Jewish child has ever said, you know what I want to do? I want to go to a camp. That's my dream.
No.
You lie to me, Joe. You're lying to me. You know what I want?
Believe it or not, I actually always wanted to go to camp when I was a kid, but I can never go. It's because like my parents would be like, no, we're going on a trip at the end of the summer and we're going to go drive like north or drive south or drive west or whatever. And we would spend weeks in the car where I always had to sit in the middle the entire time. And then we would stop off in some sort of ancient, my parents are both historians. So we would go to like the restored house of some colonel from the Civil War. Yeah. And walk around and all these houses look the same. Every restored house, I'm convinced they take the same house and they would just like move it 2 states over and then we'd have to visit it over there.
And they said, you know what? Their ancestors owned black people, but our ancestors own their house.
They all own black people. It did. I remember Monticello. I remember, oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, this is where the slaves slept. This is where that's like, that's basically, that's what you got a lot of.
That's a way. Going to Christian fucking day camp is terrible, Joe.
Okay, so I look, I never went, so I don't know. I'm simply saying that it always sounded
I'm sorry, if you look at a day camp and you go,
they're always playing softball. And then they got these rich fields.
I'm not a lesbian, Joe. I don't want to play softball.
Yeah,
See, now you're making me wish that I had gone to camp, because my greatest memory from one of my childhood summers was driving cross-country through the outback to visit a town famous for a dog taking a shit on a lunchbox.
Really?
Yeah.
That's way cooler than day camp.
Oh, God.
You know what's great about day camp? When you're out on the canoe, right? Like, because they're like, you guys are all like 11. Just go out on the canoe by yourself.
Tell us, rich boy. Tell us all about the canoes you got to go in when you were 8 years old.
Why 11? Why would you want to have anything other than just 3 11-year-olds in a canoe? Because you know what 3 11-year-olds in a canoe do, Joe? They go, hey, you know what happens if you're in the water and you turn the canoe upside down, but you're like heads up in there so you can breathe? It blocks out the light so you can actually see down. And they're like, let's do that. And you're like, well, wait, how do we get back in the canoe? You're like, well, you don't. You're going to have to swim it back to shore. I'm like, well, should we do this closer to the shore? And they're like, no, why would we? That would make sense. We're out in the middle of the lake. So then they're like, here we go. And then they just tip the fucking canoe over. So then it's upside down. Joe, you're 11. There's no one in the canoe. You can tip it back over. It doesn't matter. You're not getting back in.
No, yeah.
Because when you try, the canoe just tips over.
You need a second canoe if you're going to try and tip it over.
Yeah, you gotta have somebody stable to hold the canoe upright, because when you grab onto the side to try and grab it, it'll just flip because there's no weight in there. Or you have to have ballast. We didn't bring ballast. You know why? Because we're not Leonardo DiCaprio and James Cameron. We're not shooting a movie here, Joe. We're on a canoe in the middle of a fucking basically swamp that they call a lake in Minnesota. and so you're like, but guys, I don't want to see what's down below us in the lake, because you know what I don't want to do is be in a lake. That's why I'm in a canoe.
What about whitewater rafting and stuff like that? You guys didn't go on trips like that?
Whitewater rafting? Joe, 10,000 lakes. There aren't even any rivers in Minnesota. The Minnesota River. Oh, the Mississippi or whatever. Those don't even exist. Those aren't rafting rivers. This isn't Colorado. It's not Montana or Wyoming. This is Minnesota.
That cannot be true. This cannot be true. We have rivers out east here even.
The fucking river is 1.5 miles wide. You're not whitewater rafting it, Joe.
Well, I don't know. I spent all 10 minutes of my life in Minnesota.
Whitewater raft.
What?
Why would you want to whitewater raft?
Why would you want to go to an amusement park? I don't know. I mean, why would you want to whitewater raft?
You want to go to an amusement park because there's donuts, there's Dippin' Dots, sometimes there's water rides, there's chicks in bikinis, and by the way, there's roller coasters.
Okay, so which of items 3 and 4 is not in whitewater rafting?
All of them.
Well, you just said water rides?
No, a water ride is not a whitewater rafting. A water ride is a controlled environment where you occasionally get splashed and you go, oh, that was fun. Whitewater rafting is where you can die if you're black.
There is a bit of a difference between whitewater rafting and like a log flume ride. It's
it's way different.
Well, I will say this: when I went canoeing down some rapids, I thought I was going to die then.
Hilarious and exhilarating. Let me try that out. Put that on my list of things to do.
Fun. It's because you're like. At that
Joe,
point, I was a teenager.
If I want to almost die, I'll just go to Uptown Minnesota and be like, Trump is great.
No, that's why I prefer sort of like Val said, the lazy river rafting. One of my best memories is we're all in tubes. There's an esky sitting in one of the tubes for like the beer and all that sort of thing.
What's
and we're
an
all
esky?
Just a cooler. It is a brand of cooler. Yes.
Oh, I thought it was an indigenous person.
No.
I thought that was a bear.
A brand of cooler?
I thought you were saying koala.
I thought an esky was literally a slightly brown person who lived in a cold environment.
No, that's an Eskimo, I believe.
Yeah, I thought it was like an H.P. Lovecraft slang that Australians had adopted because they're like, well, we like the name of H.P. Lovecraft's cat, so why wouldn't we like what he calls the
now? But we're gonna have an esky in on Wednesday to take care of it.
We're out of fish. We'll just in 20 minutes. He'll bring us something for dinner.
But no, anyway, what I was saying was we had a cooler strapped to a tire ring, and we had it floating down the river with us, just drinking beer, floating down the Murray when it was a half decent river to do so.
Yeah, this sounds really boring.
If Christian Day Camp would have been like that when I was 11, it would have been way better.
Well, there you go.
Wait, that sounds like the most boring thing in the world. You're just drifting down like a lazy river type of thing.
How's drinking?
Okay. All right.
Joe, you're on a couch where your ass is constantly wet, so you don't have to worry about it, and then you're just drinking. Like that's actually a great environment.
And if you're smart enough and you know not to get the hook into the whip, you can also fish while you're doing it.
See, okay, this is what I'm not
now
understanding.
You've ruined it.
This is what I'm not understanding. When I was a teenager or younger or even into my 20s, I actually liked doing activities. You sound as if you were an old man from the time you came out of the womb. This is what I understand. No, I just I'm not getting it. Because I used to enjoy it. I love playing sports. I would play football all day long
No, Joe. Okay, look, I know that you have your good genes. Joe, have you seen me now?
I have.
Do you think I had a frame built for football at any point in my youth? If I was a senior, I would have been playing on the 6th grade team and I would have been the smallest kid. Like, come on. Like, I'm not a football player. I'd be out playing football all day. I'm like, yeah, I'd be out playing football all day as a coach.
You should know, I was so into football that after I got married, so now I'm like in my 20s, I actually started a team in a flag football league, 20s. Which was the only all-Jewish team in a flag football league.
Was it the lingerie football league?
No. This was a real flag football league.
That was a real flag football league.
Yeah,
Austin knows all about it. I love the LFL.
And I have to,
every Friday night, people.
You guys are so much bigger than us. It's unbelievable. It's like.
Why, thank you, Joe. I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, I know, Joe. But
I'm flipping that.
when I was a kid, I didn't get to my height until I was 20. I didn't grow to 6'2.5" until I was 20.
Oh, so you had a miserable childhood. You're saying?
I was very small. I had to rely on being fucking a monster with words.
Right.
Like,
that's probably where you probably sharpened your tongue because of it. Like,
yeah, I also still hated fat women back then too. Because Joe, they'd kill me. If I married one, they'd roll over and I'd die. It'd be one of those sad stories on Jezebel, like misogynist man blames woman for murder by suffocating to death under her fat. Pretty sure that's how that article reads.
Damn, Tiffany, thank you.
Here we go. I need to read the rest of the YouTube super chats. We got to get over to Rumble. I've been putting this off forever. After we go to Rumble, we'll bring Valhalla on. Y'all, gentlemen, are, of course, welcome to stay as long as you want. But if you have to go, please do at any time. This is purely just a night of debauchery because Ron Coleman canceled. And so therefore, I have to break every Talmudic law. Okay, so Ellie Fan says she is visiting Poop Map USA. Bogey says the drama happens because you're a drama addict. No, I told everybody on that stream, we'll get into that. I told everybody on that stream who was going to be on. I said, you got to be cool. And they were like, yeah, we'll be cool. And then I'm sorry, Kurt really kind of wasn't. I love Kurt.
What happened?
Dude, it was, I'm not going to like go into it. Basically,
I've heard about this war between Megan and Kurt, and I don't know anything. I didn't get to watch the stream.
It was really shitty. Like it was funny. No, I shouldn't say it was shitty. I was laughing uproariously. I'm like, this is hilarious, obviously. But it's like, why are you like this? Like, why can you just not be on a stream with this person without losing your mind? But it is what it is. There's a bunch of baggage and stuff there. I don't want to revisit it too much.
All right, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I said I'm going to talk about, but I wasn't going to talk about that drama. I was going to talk about the subsequent drama where Megan had DM'd Legal Mindset, and Legal Mindset has posted her DMs on Locals behind a paywall, which I think is a little bit sus. Like, I'm not sure why that's a good move, but it's so fucking crazy. But it all starts on my show, and all I wanted to do, Joe, was have people talk about this this poor little girl who was abducted by a hospital because they said she had Munchausen by proxy, and then the hospital effectively, according to the jury, caused her mom to commit suicide. And then they awarded a huge amount to the girl because of what happened. Like, that's what I want to talk about. And then I get all this personal beef and I'm like, why is this? Like, why is it always my channel? The Eric July shit starts on my channel. Now the Megan Mindset, Kurt, Rob thing, like that starts on my channel. And all I wanted to do was learn about this fucking little girl who's treated shitty by one of the biggest medical institutions in the country, Johns Hopkins University or Johns Hopkins Hospital, Children's Hospital or whatever. I'm like, that's all I wanted to do. And now this is happening. And people are like, see, Nick, you love drama. And I'm like, first of all, obviously everybody loves drama. That's what we watch everything for. But second of all, I didn't ask for the drama, and I asked people to not have it before bringing them on, and they still had it. It was great. It's perfect.
The irony of the whole thing was, I mean, it was a very emotional topic, obviously. Watching Rob go off, I think, sort of set things off, because I know
I was so shocked by that.
Yeah, like, I mean, I was driving as I was listening, and I'm not gonna lie, I heard that.
If I want to catch the highlights, how far in should I skip to? Where should I, like, how far into did things start going off?
I think if you go to the YouTube video, because it happened on YouTube before the Rumble split, there's timestamps. A lot of people are. It's like an hour and 32 minutes, but you can find the timestamps in the comments. Someone is timestamped. They're like, for the drama, go to here. You'll find it. You'll find it pretty quickly because people love the drama. Someone said, "Stop lying. You wanted the drama." No, I did not. Like, look,
I will attest.
It's funny when it happens, but I don't want it to happen.
I will attest that roughly a year ago, I was nearly embroiled in some drama.
Yeah.
And I was on the phone with Nick, and Nick said to me, everybody loves drama. And it's really, really great for the super chats. And it's like this shiny object that you're like, let me milk this drama for one more stream. He's like, don't. And he actually, you said to me, this was a phone call we had, like an hour-long phone call. And you said to me, don't walk down the road because it's a momentary grift, which you're going to end up resenting that you got embroiled in it for months afterwards. And it was the right call. It was the right call.
Yeah, and I like, Unlucky Irish says 1 hour 28 minutes into the Friday stream. So if you want to get the background,
1 hour 30 minutes, you're gonna get it.
I have no hard feelings about anybody on there. I'm a little frustrated because I told the people who I knew would have friction that the other people were going to be on. They consented to the other person being on, and I think that Kurt was a little out of line on that. I'm more on Megan's side. Like, I understand Kurt and Rob's position of the legality, but I said on the stream, and I still stand firm by this, Megan's not a lawyer. Megan's talking as a juror. And I think that juror perspective is really, really valuable. And I think lawyers might overlook it sometimes, which is why, by the way, law firms hire people to create fake juries.
And they run mock trials and they do that sort of thing to gather what exactly people are going to react. And that's exactly what you're saying. It was like, Megan's opinion was entirely understandable. I could see why Rob, for example, got really upset. Kurt made good points. But at the same time, at some point, you need to take that step back and go, well, holy shit, this sort of arguing isn't really going to get us anywhere aside from some hurt feelings.
Right. So. And I once, the shit started to fly, I attempted to diffuse it. It took a minute. It did get diffused. Everybody was cool by the end of it. Everybody cooled down. That's how it goes. But it's like there's still this very significant underlying feeling, I think, between Kurt and Megan. I didn't really know that there was as much between Megan and Rob. I had suspicions there was a little bit, but I didn't think it was a big deal. And I had talked to both. The only two people who were named in that stream on the description are Megan Fox and Rob, because I know that both of them covered a lot of the trial, if not all of it each, or as much of it as they could. It's 12 weeks. Fucking kill me. They covered it. I wanted their perspectives on it. I respect both of them. I love both of them. And things were going well. But then we got into this dispute between the lay perspective and the law perspective. And the law perspective has a ton of value for education, a ton of value for advocacy. But the lay perspective is the one that makes the decisions in a jury. And I think that that's also massively valuable. And I think that Kurt and Rob got wrapped up in their very calculated and earned legal perspectives that they didn't want to give a moment to that lay perspective. And they're like, no, this is the law. And I'm like, yeah, but this is a jury. And a jury has some duty to the law. They have to pay lip service. A jury just has to take the tip and put their lips on it and then walk away to the law. That's what a jury does. Like, literally, that's it. They just have to say, is there enough law here for us to hang our opinion? And of course, after you put your lips on it, you can put a hat on it, and then you can walk away because now it's ready to hold a hat.
To put that in a non-gay way, is there enough of a legal justification to allow us to go through with what our decision is? And that's exactly what the point of a jury is.
And the standard of overturning a jury verdict is, could any reasonable jury come to this conclusion based on the record? And that is one of the highest burdens you will ever face, because almost always the answer is yes.
It's literally less than 50%.
You want to know why you know the answer is yes?
Because the jury did.
And it's not just that. It's that if it was that clear cut, it probably would have been dismissed before it got to trial.
Right, because what you're talking about an argument of law, not an argument of fact. You're saying, okay, these are the facts before the jury, and no reasonable jury could have come to this because no legal interpretation will support this factual basis being applied. And then you go, why didn't the judge dismiss this? If there's such a deficient, the only reason why a judge would not dismiss a case, we logically think, this isn't true, but we logically think the only reason a judge would not dismiss a case is if there was some sort of deception or subversion in the factual basis for the case that was then never proved out by testimony, by evidence, or anything like that. Maybe the evidence was inadmissible. Sometimes that happens. You think you have admissible evidence. The other side comes up with a great theory and they fuck you over. And now you don't have your evidence in the record for one of the elements of the case, and you're done. You're game over. You get the judge or the jury. The judge will typically find in favor of the other party because they'll say, hey, judge, they missed this element. There's no record of it. You saw that in Kyle Rittenhouse, right? Like, there's no record of the actual firearm. They failed to introduce the firearm in the unlawful carrying. How can they sustain a prosecution for Kyle Rittenhouse carrying a firearm as a minor if they didn't introduce the firearm itself into evidence? They just forgot, and they forgot to do it. Boom, done. Game over. The legality of everything else and all the legal arguments aside, it doesn't matter because they don't have a gun on the record. They rested, and the defense wasn't going to bring the gun in. So that that charge got dismissed. Same thing with civil cases. You want the judge to go, you didn't bring this element. It's a 5-element question. Element 3, you failed. You got element 1, you got element 2, you got 4, you got 5, but you forgot to introduce 3. And you probably have it, I don't know, but you failed to put it in front of the court. You failed to put it in the record. You failed to let it be tested by cross-examination, and you failed to let it be tested by, objection to admissibility. Since you didn't do that, you now don't have it. That's it. That's the game. That's the judge should catch these cases. Occasionally they slip through and they go to a jury and the jury decides wrong. And then you go, okay, we want a judgment notwithstanding of the verdict because no reasonable jury could come to this conclusion. The judge will then deny that motion. And then the appeals, they look at it and they go, is this ruling by the jury, is this verdict sustainable by the record? And that's the only question. And the answer is almost always yes. Yep. Because of course it is. That's why the jury came to it. But there was a time in 1956. In 1956, when a white woman said she was raped by a black woman by a black man in Georgia, that the evidence before the trial court may not have sustained the verdict because there might not have introduced it. But a 1956 jury pool in Georgia might have just said that Negro raped that white woman, no matter what the evidence was. And you can see now why that standard exists, because you can have juries come to unreasonable conclusions based on biases, based on prejudices, based on political will, based on whatever. That might happen. And it did happen. And it does still happen. And when it happens, the appeals court is there, but it's fucking hard to convince them of it because most of the time it's not true, frankly. There's my little exposition on that.
Well done.
Okay. Ellie Fan says, never forget, Nick is a cheerleader. Don't you ever forget it, Ellie.
A narcoleptic cheerleader.
A narcoleptic cheerleader. That's right. With no shoulders.
You would think that those two elements, you would think that adjective would not frequently go, those two adjectives do not really work together.
So Joe, do you know what a male cheerleader does at a school that has no male cheerleaders?
I assume they're basically grabbing a lot of
you do whatever you want. That's the answer. Whatever you want. Like there's no male cheerleaders. They want some muscles, and all they're stuck with is me. I was 165 pounds in college.
Do you have pictures of you in like your cheerleader garb?
Yeah, somewhere. I'm 170 now. So imagine me 5 pounds thinner, but in better shape. Worked out more. But my entire job was to let a vagina rest on my hand while I lifted it in the air. Like that's my entire job. Did I dance? No. Did I do cheers? No. Did I do anything other than lift up girls? No, of course not. But the funny thing is, 165-pound man, and I was one of the bigger ones. The other guys were like 5'5", and they're like 140 pounds. We're way stronger than even the big girls are at lifting other girls. Like we just are. We're stronger than them because God made us funny, and God made women sad. And so like you go do it. But the cheerleading thing is great. I love it. It was the most fun I've ever had in my life because we were the shittiest cheerleading squad in existence. And the person who recruited me to be a cheerleader was Lady Rackets. And she was also the person who would sit on my hand when I lifted her up in the air and did all the other stunts with her. It ended up being the best decision I've ever made.
Well, there you go.
I met my wife by being a cheerleader. I was not a cheerleader in high school because that's gay as shit. I was only a cheerleader in college because a spiral curled, blonde haired, green eyed, which was a lie. That bitch was wearing contacts. A spiral curled, blonde haired, green eyed girl came up to me and said, "Are you here to be a cheerleader?" And I said, "No, you dummy. I'm here to hit people and kick them," because I was there for martial arts. Here to hit and kick people. And she's like, "Well, if you get some guys to join cheerleading, I'll get girls to join taekwondo. I'll get cheerleaders to join taekwondo." I'm like, "I want cheerleaders in taekwondo. That sounds great." So I did. I used all of my skills as a negotiator and a lawyer that didn't exist yet to convince 3 other retards to become male cheerleaders. I was the only one who got married. Pretty sure the other 3 are gay. Fox McCloud says, "Gall dang shyster lawyer swindling me out of these shekels. I need a binger to come and help." Laughs in British says, "Invite Count Dankula. He's an expert in both whiskey and drama, and he's hilarious." I need to talk to Dankula. It's been way too long. I need to. Low Watermark, hey, thanks, brother, says, "What's the most expensive whiskey you've ever drank, even if someone else provided it to you? And was it worth what it would cost?" I think the most expensive whiskey I ever drank was at Tim Pool's show. It was a Pappy Van Winkle or a Van Winkle Family Reserve. It was somewhere between $1,500 and $2,500 a bottle. I have more expensive whiskeys like this one. This is, I don't know what this acronym, it says 2016 VWFRR. There's a list somewhere that explains that acronym. This is sent to me by a guy who's a fan who has an extensive, very great back bar. I think that this thing is like a $3,000 to $5,000 bottle of whiskey. This is a 2-ounce sample from it. He gave me a list and showed me all of it. He sent me several of these. I've not tried them though, because I want to share them with Lady Rackets when she's in the right mood to have a like 70% alcohol, $3,000 whiskey. But since I haven't had those, the Pappy is probably the highest I had at Tim Pool's show. He's like, "Yeah, I don't even drink whiskey. Drink however much you want." I'm like, "Well, you don't have to ask me twice, Beanie Man." And I started pounding the Van Winkle Family Reserve, and it was great. But it wasn't worth it. No, it's not worth the price. Let me be very clear. It's not worth what it would cost. I have a whiskey actually right now that rivals it. I have a Samurai Scientist Whistle Pig Boss Hog that runs $1,200 to $1,500 right now, but only because of the scarcity, because they don't make it anymore. When it came out, it was a $450 bottle. It's not a $1,500 bottle. It just is now, and it'll keep appreciating because of you can't get it anymore. But no whiskey above about $150 is worth what it costs.
I agree with that.
It's worth what you can pay if you can afford it. Like, so if you're rich and you can afford a $1,000 bottle of whiskey, buy one, enjoy it. It's great.
At a certain point, I think it's just the ostentatiousness of being able to say I'm drinking $1,000 whiskey.
Of course, because
exactly.
because most whiskeys around 100 to 150 bucks are great to the point where they are like the incremental increases are not worth the price increases. I'll say if you want a great whiskey, Angel's Envy, Finish Rye, Caribbean Cask is one of the best whiskeys you can buy, about $100. You'll never regret that. Any of the Joseph Magnus whiskeys, no matter what they cost, between 100 and 180 bucks. Fantastic whiskeys. They're phenomenal. You will not find better ones. Lagavulin 12 year is a $90 to $120 bottle, depending on the taxes where you are.
I actually like Lagavulin 10 more than Lagavulin 12.
Yeah, and that's great. I'm just saying, like, Lagavulin 10, 11, 12, and 16, all great bottles, all hovering between $90 and $120, $130 a bottle. And like you will be hard pressed to find better bottles than those. Now, the expensive whiskeys have specific character that you might be looking for, specific elements to them that might make them increase in price, increase in rarity, or whatever. But they also don't make them imminently drinkable. I have a Boss Hog 7 that tastes like Christmas spice, nutmeg, and bullshit. If you drink one shot, you don't ever want to drink a second shot, because do you want to celebrate Christmas at any other time than December 25th? Aussie or Joe? No, of course not. You want Christmas in July? Like, you think you do, but then you realize you have to buy your kids a bunch of presents. That's that bottle.
And then you got the crappy sweater contests at work, and it's like, it's just, and you have to shell out.
If they're not wet sweater contests, I don't want to do
it. Fair.
Grifty says, bro, he's so based, like JLP with a law degree. Check your DMs. I tagged you both in a post, and he liked, retweeted multiple comments. Direct examination. Okay, I'll look for it. Fox McCloud says, how do you like absinthe? I've never had actual absinthe. I had absinthe at the show Absinthe in Vegas. By the way, anybody who goes to Vegas should watch. No, absinthe, not vermouth.
Yeah, no, the actual stuff that knocks you around. I mean, I've got the Green Fairy stuff as my punishment shots for drinking streams. It's not actual absinthe, I don't think.
Nothing is anymore.
Yeah.
No, if you go to Vegas, go to the show Absinthe. It's like Cirque du Soleil if you're not a faggot.
Okay.
I'm not on Rumble yet, but I'm pretending I am. Lady Law Sandra, welcome paralegal. Mayor Bear says, have you heard about the Ukraine case where they took an 8-month-old baby off life support against parents' wishes, and Italy offered to pay for all health care? UK killed the baby anyways. I didn't hear about that. I saw like some memes from it. Look, man, they hate babies. They fucking hate them. It's gross. I can't imagine being a parent in that situation.
I heard the verdict and I legitimately had to go and empty my stomach after going through that case. It was disgusting.
I had to go and empty my balls in hopes to make another baby. Benny Turkov says, have you heard Greta Thunberg got her mic taken away on stage for supporting Palestine by Base Chad? Funniest thing I've seen in a while. I did see it. I saw the video of it, but I watched it on mute like I do with everything involving Greta Thunberg, just hoping she gets hit by a bus. Chugi Show Live says, some MAGA want Tucker for Trump's vice president. Thoughts? No. Don't make radio personalities president or vice president. Don't do it. They're way more effective when they're not government actors. Tucker is a great force for good as a media personality, especially independent. Do not make him president or vice president. Don't do it. It's not his job. It's not what he's supposed to do, in my opinion. Cat Mama, when is Bronca coming back to do the despise letter? He's never coming back because I hate him. Mayor Bear says, sorry, spelling error. I meant UK. Yeah, not Ukraine, UK. I got it. Thermatius says, I can hope on also. I mean, hop on also. I mean, if you want that. He said hop, not hope. Legal Vices says, happy Steve Irwin Day. Hayden and all the other Aussies. Oh, Steve Irwin died today, or was he born today?
No, it's just a national day to celebrate him and all the good that he brought to the world. I think Stingray Day's tomorrow.
Imagine being Australia, right? Like, well, what did we offer the world? Well, we got this guy, Steve Irwin. What did he do? Well, he tried to fuck alligators. He never really was successful. But then he went out to other wildlife, and when he expanded outside of alligators, actually he died. Wait, what do you mean he died? Well, he got stabbed by a fucking stingray. Those aren't even lethal. Like, those don't kill people at all. Well, I know, but he's like, he did it. I thought this Negro wrestled with alligators, and I thought that's what he did. And like, well, I mean, he did, but like, But this is a stingray caught him off guard, kind of like Belgium with Germany. Why are you celebrating this man? Turd Ferguson says, would you be in favor of a public defender's bar for defendants in civil/administrative actions brought by the state to even the playing field? I think there is a public defender's bar, isn't there? I don't know. Why would anyone
How would
join
that make things better if what's he suggesting?
He says, would you be in favor of a public defender's bar for defendants in civil/administrative actions brought by okay. So a group of public defenders who defend in like Trump's case, right? It's a civil action, but it's brought by the attorney general on behalf of the state or other unnamed victims. So should there be a public defender's bar in favor of in those type of actions? I don't know. I think they're I really think they're legitimate.
Oh, he's basically saying like it would be like instead of you having to pay a lawyer, that you could basically have one assigned to you.
Yeah, you could have a lawyer in Trump's case assigned to you. You wouldn't want that lawyer ever, in my opinion.
Would you want to represent Trump?
Yeah, that paycheck sounds great. I don't care about my license, Joe. That's the difference, right?
Like, I mean, look, I gotta tell you, it sounds like an awesome gig. The opportunity to represent him.
If I was not a YouTuber, the answer is no.
Because you were about your license.
But I'm a YouTuber. Could you imagine if Trump hired me?
Oh my God.
The subscriber count would go from my taint straight to the roof of my mouth. It'd be the biggest jump you could ever imagine. And then if the court decided to punish or sanction me for my representation of Trump, it would be like it'd go even higher. It'd be 10 feet higher. It'd be like the wall, right?
I would love to represent him. I just feel like he'd be like your classic nightmare client.
I don't even care though.
Yeah, you wouldn't care. You wouldn't care.
I can deal with deal with a nightmare client like Trump.
You'd be like,
look, I want you to do this. I'm like, all right, it's not the right move, but I'll do whatever you ask. I mean, it's your fucking funeral. Write the check.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like you'd be like, okay, so the one thing I want you to not say is that the judge is biased, and it's like 12 seconds in. Well, the judge is biased.
That's the difference between me and Trump, though. I'm 100% aligned with him. I think leveraging his social media. Once the judge ruled against him on summary judgment, I think I go, no, we torched this motherfucker.
Oh, by the way, that summary judgment motion, my God, that was just, this judge tore himself into pretzels to try and find some way to find culpability.
How do you find that there's no legitimate issue of material fact when the valuations are 18 million versus 860? Like, how do you find that there's no genuine issue of material fact between those two positions? It's insane. I think it's appealable. I think it's great. And I think what they've done, I legitimately believe that Trump's lawyers are savvy and smart enough to know that they go, we've got this judge. We just need to flush out the record with the most biased shit possible from the judge.
It wasn't just that. In one breath, he was like, there's no way to get an actual determination as to what property is. And 5 pages later, he's like, he owns the property. He must know what it's worth. It's like, you just said there's no way to establish 4 pages ago. You just said that there's no way to establish what property is actually worth, which sounds stupid when you consider this a Zillow
value. Then he goes with a different. He's like, well, he owns the property. He must know what the worth. By the way, it's the county assessor's version that has a literal statutory cap on increase.
And he said about that disclaimer, he's like, well, disclaimer doesn't work when he's the only person who's able to have knowledge and the bank can't have knowledge. So you know what the bank couldn't figure out, didn't have knowledge about, that he alone had? How many floors were in a building? Like there's no way for the bank to know that. He's the only one who has this personal knowledge that he has. How many units are built?
I can find the stats at Mar-a-Lago because I can just go online. Or what you can do is say, hey, you know what? Actually, we're not going to lend based on the representation of the value of Mar-a-Lago unless we have not a desk appraisal, not a street appraisal. We're going to need a walkthrough appraisal. Here you go. Here's 72 hours notice. Please have your people go in. Look, I'm sure you can figure this out. Have your people go in and clean it up, make it presentable. And our appraiser is going to come. He's going to show up. He's going to knock his on the gate. I know there's a security issue there because you're president of the United States. But what I'm going to need you to do is provide him security clearance.
All this was years before he became president. This was in 2011.
Okay, either way, though. Like, okay, we'll say, I know it's a private club, so I'm going to need you to put him on the list because look, if you want this money, you just put him on the list. He's going to come in. He's going to walk through the property. Look, this is a huge property. It's probably going to take 5, 6, maybe even 8 hours of him to do it. So if you're not going to be there, please assign someone who can grant him access to all relevant areas. He's going to need to see bedrooms. He's going to need to see bathrooms. He's going to need to see public areas. He's going to need to see private areas. He's going to need to see club workout and any commercial services offered to club memberships in Mar-a-Lago. He's going to need to see those. And then he's similarly going to need to see private bedrooms because we know this is a unique property. We know that we're not talking about a per square footage replacement value. We know that you have gold leaf because you're a weirdo who likes gold leaf on everything. We know that your donuts have gold leaf. We can only assume that your toilets do. So we need to know what it's going to cost if something happens here from your insurance company. And we need to make sure you're properly insured because if you're under, this is the thing people don't realize. When a lender is taking on risk on a property, they're not just taking on risk that you might not pay them back. They're taking on risk that a literal fucking meteor comes from the Perseid shower and slams into Mar-a-Lago and they have to rebuild it tomorrow. And the things that you tell them that are worth, like, oh, well, I have this art. Oh, I have this classic car collection. They better be in there. So some appraiser has to go through and be like, yeah, this is a 40,000 square foot garage. And it's predominantly occupied by, I would love to say McLaren's, but Trump's an old fag. So he's got Toyota Corollas. He's just got Toyota Corollas. It's like, this is the only thing my ass fits in when I sit in it first. I've tried, look, I wanted a Bentley. I wanted one, but I went in and they're like, no, I'm sorry. We sell Bentleys to black men, not black women. That's why your buttocks doesn't fit in there. If I was a black woman, obviously I would just buy a Toyota Highlander, but I'm not a black woman. So the Bentleys do not hold my ass. I'm not 50 Cent. I'm not Ludacris. I'm not any other I don't know who's even popular these days. They probably have bullet holes in them. We should just check public records. We can find the names of popular rappers by public records, whoever has bullet holes in them. I'm not one of those people. My dump truck does not fit in the yard. That's what I'm saying. And so I have Toyota Highlanders, Toyota Camrys, Toyota Corollas, but other black people might have, they may have Maybachs. They may have, Bentleys, Rolls Royces. I don't know. I can't sustain what they have, but like I have this collection of Toyota Corollas. The 2002 model is particularly my favorite, especially when you have the custom built it, not from the manufacturer, but the postmark, the aftermarket, as they call it sometimes. That's actually my cousin Jimmy. He cut off the top and he put in a convertible top for me, and it's got a manual crank on it. It's wonderful. I make Melania do that. I like it when she wears a short skirt and she bends over to do the manual crank, and then I'm manually cranking the entire time. But it's wonderful, perfect thing to do. If it was automatic, I wouldn't do it. If it was automatic, I wouldn't care if it was E. Jean Carroll, that ugly bitch. She could sit there and do the automatic one all day. I would never manually crank to E. Jean Carroll, but I'd manually crank to Melania. I'm pretty sure that's the exact speech you gave.
That was excellent.
I was sitting here thinking, I wish I had a stopwatch. How long are you going to keep going for?
I could have gone on for
this
days
dude can
doing
go for another
that.
20 minutes. I was.
But see, the whole thing with Mar-a-Lago really, to me, it's a little bit foreign because ever since like 2008, 2009 with the GFC here, we instituted like responsible lending. So you have to obtain a valuation of properties for the most part if it's over a certain value. Like the fact that the bank in this instance doesn't have that on file or something like that, it's foreign to me, obviously. But it would make sense for them to have obtained a valuation.
They obtained a valuation, and what they got was one of two things. One, the valuation was so biasly low that they couldn't offer, under their guidelines, the rates that they would want to offer a Donald Trump. They go, this guy's a billionaire with a name recognition through the roof. He's going to pay us back. If he doesn't pay us back, we can probably collect. So we're gonna lend him the money. If the valuation either is so low that it doesn't make sense to us because he's definitely going to pay us, and so we'll do this as a variance. And we saw this with what was that trial? The fucking guy in Virginia who killed his kid or whatever, and his wife, Murdoch.
Yeah, in South Carolina was Murdoch.
Yeah, Carolina, not Virginia. Virginia is just like having sex with black people. The Loving versus Virginia. That's a joke. Jesus Christ. No, so Murdoch, that was the whole thing with Murdoch. They're like, we know he's going to pay it back. So the bank's board approves a variance and they say, we don't need the lending standards here. We're going to lend this because if you guys don't know, here's how private banks work. Speaking as a banker, the reason private banks have private versus public, no, there are no public banks. There are only private banks in the US, even though the Fed's public, but don't pay attention to that. Private banks lend money and they have a guideline lending standard that says your credit score has to be this, your loan to value has to be this, and your loan to income has to be this. And then that is just, though, the standard for selling your loan automatically to a federal loan program like Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. So you go, okay, 20% loan to value. You go 20%, 25% maybe loan to income, debt to income ratio. And then you go, here's the maximum amount on a jumbo loan. We're going to lend up to $630,000. But typically we're going to lend about $450,000. That's kind of follows the median home price in the country. And that changes, but it changes based on, the way the country is trending. They have these guidelines and they say, okay, if I do this loan, if this person makes this much money to go over debt to income ratio, if the person makes this much money to overcome the loan to value ratio on their house, and if the person has this under a particular value of home, we're going to automatically, without question, through an algorithm, sell it to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. So that bank will lend $400,000. And then 2 days later, they will actually get paid $400,000. And the federal government will assume all risk after that. That's not the extent of lending, though. That's the extent of federal approved lending. These are private companies. You can't tell them who to lend money to. You just tell them who you'll buy from if you're a federal government. So if they go, wait, this loan is going to be $2.3 million. This person's going to be a 30% loan to value, but they're a doctor. They're an anesthesiologist in their third year. We know by year 6, anesthesiologists are going to make 10 times as much as they make in their third year while they're doing their what is it called? Their residency. So we know that this person's average income is going to go from $90,000 a year to $950,000 a year. So we're comfortable making this loan, but we know the government is going to buy it. That's going on the risk of our books. That's how these high-end loans. Trump is not getting Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans. Let's be very clear. He's borrowing $50 million, $100 million on properties that are worth $300+ million. He's having customized deals. The banks, of course, do valuations on this. And then they make an individual assessment. They say either our valuation is too low to support this for our books, but we know it's Donald Trump. We know he'll pay us back. Or our valuation is too high. And if we show Donald Trump the valuation that we came up with, in fact, he'll demand a lower interest rate or a higher loan amount. That's actually the converse side that no one talks about. It's very possible that third-party reviewers came up and looked at the loans that Donald Trump was asking for and said he could ask for way more. He could get a better rate. This is what our assessment is. But we're talking about in 2018, Mar-a-Lago, the president of the United States, with the property that is associated with his name, we're like, yeah, 18 million. Not a fucking chance. Not a chance. Anybody who thinks
here's the thing. They tried getting him on fraud, and they were citing when they were asking him about it and asking Ivanka about it. They were talking about covenants, and this is one of the things I want to explain to your audience about the difference between the representation and a covenant. When you're talking about fraud, you're saying at the time that you made this statement, you were saying that was something that was not true with the intention of defrauding someone. Because when you talk about representations, you're basically looking at on a contract, there are representations and covenants, and they're basically mirror images of the same thing. A representation says everything from today going backward in time is something that I'm saying is true as of today that I'm signing this document. That's a representation. A covenant is something that you're saying everything as of today going into the future, this is what I will do. And what they did and they're basically saying you committed fraud. That means fraud typically refers to representations that you make about the past. You can't have fraud about what you're going to do in the future. It's fraud about what things are as of today, looking back into the past.
Right.
But when they had Ivanka on the stand, so now this whole issue is he supposedly committed fraud. The state's going after him for fraud. Then when they had Ivanka on the stand, they start asking about, well, he signed this covenant. Did he keep that covenant? He signed that covenant. Did he keep that covenant? And the lawyers for Trump are like, why are we looking at covenants That's a breach of contract issue. That's got nothing to do with fraud. That would be breach of contract that the state has no interest in. The only one who's an interest in that would be the bank. The state claims they have some interest in fraud, which that is even convoluted. But to say that they have an interest in breach of contract, there's nothing in the law that says that at all. And they're just like, I'll allow it.
It's crazy specifically for what you say. Showing fraud in a covenant is particularly difficult because you have to show with evidence that they never intended to fulfill the covenant, not that they failed to fulfill.
Right. At the moment that they signed it, that they intended, I'm never going to do this.
Which literally requires, in most cases, someone to actually
admit it.
Text message, an email says, these rubes, I've fooled them into thinking I will do their thing, but I will never do it.
Right.
Of course, that's never going to be on paper. They just say it on the golf course. Because of course they would. And it happens all the time, but guys, these guys are not stupid. Trump's not a fucking idiot. People think he's an idiot because he talks like a blue collar guy. It's served him very well in his career, but he's not a fucking idiot.
No, certainly not in real estate.
He still is everybody's like, oh, well, he got just this little amount he got this small loan from his dad and he made all his money. You manage $1 billion. You manage $2 billion, $5 billion. Manage it. I guarantee you'll be poor. You'll be poor in 5 to 10 years.
Somehow everyone who wins the lottery tends to go poor within 5 to 10 years.
And they don't have billions of dollars. They still go poor because it takes a particular type of person to manage that. Most people who inherit or gain wealth very dramatically, very quickly, lose it in the same speed because they're not good at it. Anyway, let's keep going. Grifty, Farron is trying to get a hold of you. I saw YouTube isn't letting her super chat for some reason. She says, check your messages. I saw, I love Farron. I didn't want to talk about the subject that she had tonight, maybe some other night. Joshua Senebra says, been away for a while. When do we start letting CIA deepfakes Australians on the show? Look, as long as everybody knows. Wrestler Town, important to point out that Palestinians kept demanding this piece of land that was semi-encircled by Israel, then complained about it being surrounded. No, I know. Stop. It's not about how we got there. It's just about the realities of where they are. And it's very important to say that Palestinians demanded this thing. Yeah, Palestinian decision makers demanded this thing. And there is a difference between Palestinian decision makers and Palestinian bus drivers. And even though they may have the same propaganda, they may have the same internalized hatreds, they may have all these things, they do have different considerations day to day. It's important to remember that. But I'm not apologizing for Palestine. I think Israel should be its own state and Palestine should be moved anywhere else. Personally, I don't think Gaza and the West Bank are sustainable. Rich88 says 18,000 Gazans have work visas in Israel. Palestinian people taken in by Kuwait and supported Saddam invasion in Jordan led to a revolt as well. Heard that, Ryan Acorn. Most people don't understand the Gaza pullout. They generally refer to West Bank settlements and all the checkpoints that restrict free movement as an occupation. Asking papers, please, doesn't sit well that often. Of course it doesn't. We wouldn't want to be asked these questions either. Doesn't mean it's not appropriate. It just means when we think about it, we wouldn't want those. James,
but I just want to clarify on that, just not to go revisit that whole thing. It's not like your typical Gazan is being asked papers, please, or has been asked that ever in the last 15 years. It's only the ones who are coming into Israel to work. Those are the ones who are asked to show their papers. It's not like there are Israeli soldiers in Gaza anytime in the last 15 years saying papers, please, like you're living in Nazi Germany in 1941. And that's the difference. It's only the ones who wanted to work in Israel who they had to provide papers to go through there. But go ahead.
Yep. No, and I'm not contesting it at all.
Yeah.
James Gerald Eckert Jr., welcome to Lawyer Status. Magnum Norris, sorry, but diversity is apparently not our strength. Some people need to just leave. James Gerald Eckert Jr. sent a super sticker. It's a lemon playing a trumpet. That's weird. Xanders Rants, you mean you're not married to Jesus? That mean G? No, I'm not. He's got parts I don't like. David Smith says Jordan, he's got a penis, I think. David Smith says Jordan did let the Palestinians in. They started a civil war, tried to take down the King of Jordan. Look up Black September. Well, the King of Jordan was a fag. Jesus Davila gifted a membership. Thank you. Go for big guy. You were going to tell us about the drama with Nate last night. I don't know the drama with Nate. That's the drama between Nate and who was on last night? Steve Gosling. I don't know what that is about at all. But you forgot. Please expound on this. I don't know. I don't know. I love Nate. I love Steve Gosney. I don't know if there's actually drama, or it's just like, oh, they disagreed, therefore there's drama. Kate of the Swiss says, hey, Aussie, first movie I saw boobs in was Dead End Drive-In, an Australian national treasure in my book. That, and I like B movies. Dead End Drive-In has boobs in it?
I don't know that I'd class it as a B movie, maybe a C, but basically bunch of...
Is it a B cup or is it a C cup? Maybe a double D cup.
Double D cups, C grade movie. It's like it's half decent, but it's like bunch of like teenage rejects put into a camp.
Dude, I'm so torn because Showgirls is on Prime.
Oh, dude.
And I want to watch it so bad. Like I want to do a Twitch watch party of Showgirls, but I have to go ahead and decide how many knives I want to wake up between my ribs from Lady Rackets. That's what I want. Like I have to. I'm like.
That's what you gotta weigh up.
I want to just like show like Elizabeth Berkley has the huskiest voice ever, is completely unsexy, but she has a body that is slamming. And this is a movie that existed, and it's so bad, but it's so popular because of this pool sex scene, which wouldn't even be good if you've ever tried to have sex in a pool. It's terrible. And this guy looks like a fucking autistic. Like he's like, this is my first sexual experience. Like that is what is broadcast on stream. It's the most uncomfortable sex scene I've ever seen. And it's, but it is Showgirls. Like I want to watch it and laugh, but like, I really don't want to wake up as a fucking pincushion for a Russian seamstress. Jesus Davila gifted another membership. Guys, we're going to pop off of YouTube. We're going to pop over to Rumble. 25 seconds. After that, I'm going to go pee again because my prostate is more worked over than a Ukrainian border town.
Dude, and, I gotta bust out. I'm like, I thought I was going to be here for like 20 minutes. And
no, I love that you've stayed as long as you have. Absolutely. Right. Get out of here,
Great
brother.
Seeing you, Hayden.
Joe, we gotta talk. And very soon, you know what I'm talking about. The first thing that you're going to be the first guest on for my locals exclusive content is coming. I want to schedule it with you. The talks about quintessential and essential manliness that I think are lost.
Yeah. We talked about this when we met
years ago, and now I'm going to French kiss you while you duet.
Beautiful. All right, take care, brother. Great seeing you guys.
Shave before my lips get a rash. All right, talk to you later, brother. Peace.
Later.
All right, Hayden, I'm gonna do 25-second Rumble transition. After that, I'm gonna go pee. You can talk about whatever you want, or you can pee and just leave the chat alone. I don't care.
I mean, we all like Chairkun, but it's fine. I can carry things for at least a little bit.
No, I'm going to put Muhammad on. Muhammad has the base takes. All right, here we go, guys. I love you all. We're moving over to Rumble exclusively. I think Valhalla Awaits will join us after the transition because he's a trans.
Good. We'll wait until Rumble so that I can call him all the names I want to.
Please do. And we'll keep going. I've got no agenda tonight. I told you guys we're already a disaster of a stream. Let's keep it going. Thank you for hanging out with us. Follow the link to Rumble. If you don't follow the link to Rumble, why are you gay?